How many knives do you have? Do you own?
Okay, let's see. It's not. I mean, it's not a crazy amount. It's like I got say, I got three folding knives.
Yeah.
I have a boot dagger.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a like like a marine Bowie knife.
Interesting. Is that like the Rambo,
All
or
of
that's
them,
something? It's
all
something.
of them, dude. All of them have some utility outside of like murdering people.
I hope so.
You know what I mean? Like people think like they see knives like, oh my god, but it's so like, for instance, this new knife that I got, it helped me get rid of all these boxes I had in the backyard.
Yeah. Interesting.
In like 45 minutes. It would have taken me, with my old knife, with like the smaller folding knife, it would have taken me like an hour and a half to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So knives, more than just about maiming, it's about box cutters.
Yeah.
It's about cutting cord.
That's what the those wonderful gentlemen used to commandeer the airliners.
Yeah, anything that's hot, you can use it to cook or to burn. Anything with an edge, you can use to make food, right?
Yeah.
Or to hurt people. I mean, it's just everything is a double-sided blade.
Yeah.
Everything is.
Yeah. It's like, what they say. What is it? The people who are have something like I think it said in the Torah, somewhere in the Gemara, people have a taste for blood, they should be butchers or something like that, right? How does that go?
Not a taste for blood, but people born under a certain size, or they have a certain proclivity, right?
Yeah.
Where they're not freaked out by blood.
Yeah.
Right? Like most people are freaked out by blood, but some people are like, whatever.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
They're not very moved by it, or one way or the other. Meaning, like, it's not such a thing for them to spill blood.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't mean that they're going to go around like they're not psychopath murderers.
No.
But some people I had to defend myself. The guy broke into my house. I shot him. I don't feel any issues about it at all.
Yeah.
And some other people I'm going to need therapy for the rest of my life. So the people who don't need therapy for the rest of their life, they should be surgeons and butchers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Makes sense. So,
are you recording?
Yes, I've been recording.
Oh, now you are, okay.
No, I've been. I saw a very interesting thing, Jonathan Pollard video at his Shiva for his wife, of blessed memory, Esther Pollard.
That was agony.
And he was talking about, can I play this audio? I want to play this.
Get ready to be bummed, folks. But
No, it's not bum. It's not bum. No, ain't nothing bum here. Bum diddy bum.
Very emotional.
No, but listen, this is actually not so as emotional as much as more like, here, listen to this.
A lot of people saw her at protests, but what people don't know was her most important job was to be my morah. And I hope
Wish I could be louder.
that
Can you hear?
understand as the years go by that she was a very good morah.
So she was my morah, she was my teacher.
When she was just about to die, she took her mask off and she started talking. And
I hope you don't mind this, like a 15-minute video. Is it okay if we watch it? If we listen to it? And then we'll talk about it?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty, like,
said was rather...
Maybe we could just talk about some of the points that you want to talk about, and we could link the videos.
I didn't see, okay, Bekitzer, he said, I didn't see the part where he talks about Mashiach, that's the thing. I saw other parts where he talks about how, like, there was a part where he, when he was in prison, he tells a story when he was still in prison, and he called her, I guess she was already in Israel, whatever it is, maybe in America, and he was trying to get a room with with a toilet. Do you know the
Right.
story? It's a famous story, actually.
I actually don't know.
He was trying to get a room with a toilet, and it was like a whole thing, and it took like 5 or 10 years to get a room with a toilet. Otherwise, you had to like basically turn yourself into an animal in front of other guys. Whatever, it's prison.
Yeah.
And he was so happy that he got a room with a toilet. So that I guess the next call that they had, he was like, "Hey, guess what, Esther? I got a room with a toilet." She's like, okay. Remember what I told you." She had this whole thing of like she would tell him, "Look at your hand." What does that mean? Your hand. When you look at your hand is a product of all of the your ancestors, dating back to the Beit HaMikdash. Dating back to Sinai, really, and they are all like watching you. They're all watching you to see what you're gonna do in this world. And then so when he told her, "Oh, I got a toilet," she's like, and he goes, there was a silence, and she goes, "Look at your hand." And then she goes, "Tell me something, Yonatan. How are you going to daven now in your cell with a toilet there?" So then he speaks to the warden, and he's like, "Listen, I can't be in this room." And the guy he goes, "The guy thought I was Meshuggah. All the guys thought I was Meshuggah. That I didn't want." He said, "Listen, it's I can't do it, and whatever, But he goes, "This is the kind of person. This is the consciousness that this person had. This is where she was. The realm that she was operating in. Like all the time. And this was my teacher.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Something I was always wondering about. I never really, I didn't think it was a thing to research. But
Okay.
he was married to this lady when he went to prison.
No. The way that it worked, and I'll tell. I don't know. I'm not clear exactly in the chronology. She is his second wife, and I'll tell you exactly here. I'll tell you exact chronology so that we're not like kind of wrong here. Here. Okay. Because I know that when he was caught, he was with, I think, his first wife, if I'm not mistaken. Here, Pollard's future wife, Ann Henderson, born in 1960. Okay. In the summer of '81, she moved to a house on Capitol Hill with two other women, and through a friend of one of her roommates, she first met Pollard. He later said he had fallen in love during their first meeting. They were an inseparable couple. By '81 and June '82, her Capitol Hill lease expired. She moved into Pollard's apartment. In 19...
I feel like I missed what happened. I don't understand what's happening.
I'm reading to you. This is. I think that was his first wife.
Who was?
Ann Henderson.
Ann Henderson. Okay.
Yes,
I didn't
yes.
hear the name.
I'm not sure if Ann in Esther is because Esther is the Hebrew name, but I'm not sure if it's the same person. Hold on. Hold on a second. Jonathan Pollard's first wife? Yeah. His first wife was Ann Henderson Pollard. That was the woman that she was an intelligence analyst. They got caught together. And then they got divorced. They divorced when he was in prison. And then he met Elaine Zeitz. I'm not sure how I think they started talking. I mean, from what I understand, they started talking when he was still in prison. He says, yeah, it was 1993. Jonathan Pollard had just married Esther Zeitz. So basically, it was like 6 years after he went to prison. From Canada's, I don't know what this is. Oh, okay, so she's from Canada.
So how did they get married? They went to they had a chuppah in the.
I'm not sure. I think they had conjugal visits. I don't know.
No. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just saying,
I have no idea. To be honest with you, I have no idea. See, it says, there's an article by a person in J-Post. Fern Allen, some woman. There's an article a few years ago. Here, one second. She's talking about how she met it. She met her. One second. I'm just trying to get you the. How did they actually hear? I think they. I don't even know how they met. I guess she was like, heard about his story, and she was like, she was petitioning for him, and then they just, yeah. Here you go. Elaine Zeitz is a wife of. Okay, Jonathan was arrested for passing classified information. Blah blah blah. But the question is, when did they meet? They got married in 1993, but how?
He was already in jail in 1993.
He was already in jail, yeah, and I think she was just doing like stuff, and then I guess they just they had a correspondence, and then just started getting married.
So they had a correspondence, and then I mean I'm saying they the rabbis, they might have arranged the chuppah ceremony somewhere in the penitentiary, I suppose.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
Maybe. Oh, see, it says Esther. Hold on, my God. I'm just trying to get information like how they. She says she met Jonathan on an Israel trip when they were teenagers. Actually, she was born in Toronto as Elaine Zeitz. They were married in 1993, but never permitted more than visits in the prison until his release in 2015. Jonathan, a civilian intelligence analyst, sold military. Okay, whatever. We know all this stuff. Okay, wonderful. Bennett actually said something. He was sad to hear about the passing of Esther, who he called a dedicated and loving wife to Jonathan. Yeah, Bibi actually visited him a couple of days ago. So I guess, yeah, they met. I just don't know if they had like a chuppah in prison or what. I mean, for sure they probably had something. I don't know. I guess they were allowed. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But yeah, that's his second wife. The woman he got caught with was Ann Pollard.
Now again, got caught with meaning
when he got caught, they were both intelligence analysts.
Right.
And she was like his, I guess, accomplice, you could say. I'm not sure. But yeah, she was convicted in she was convicted in '86 for her role in then husband's espionage case. I guess she was let out at some point. But the kids are like, I don't know. Pollard has been speaking a lot about Mashiach. He's a very, he's a religious guy. But he's very like tapped in person. He's not just like.
So you heard him say something about Mashiach. What did he say?
I didn't. I'm saying in general, I've heard him say stuff about. He's just saying. He was saying a lot about. He made a speech, for example, in Merkaz Rav. He was talking about. This is last year. He was talking about how we basically need to take over. We need to kick the Waqf out of the Temple Mount. We need to build like a yeshiva there. Like on the side, not where the obviously the Kodashim is. But we should just start having a presence there. We won. He goes, we supposedly won the war. We didn't win the war. 67. It's a very interesting speech he gave. It's like it's like a 20-minute speech, but he's just saying we should.
We won the war, but then immediately the new enemy that most people weren't conscious of took over instantaneously.
Yeah, the Arab Rav, which was led
that's the real enemy.
Exactly, which was led by Moshe Dayan and all these kind of people, the Ganef. But he's been saying a lot of these kind of things. It's interesting because my friend and I were interviewing different people in Jerusalem, and we got to a point where we wanted to interview him, Pollard. And I was asking around, and then a friend of mine said, I have it on good authority that Pollard is not going to give you an interview. And I said, I bet you we will. And he's like, no, this has nothing to do with you. He's just not giving any interviews. Because at that time, he already made 2 speeches in Israel after, two very significant speeches. This is like last year. And basically, people heard his speeches, which was akin to like Kahana speaking, the way that he spoke, and they basically said, listen, you better pipe down or otherwise you're going to have a problem. And so he basically stopped doing TV appearances, interviews or anything like that, or public speeches.
So there were word that he was going to get Yehuda Glick.
No, they were telling him that you can't, like, people, the Shabak basically told him you can't be going around saying these things, saying like we have to take the back the. He was saying we have to take back Har Bias, we have to kick. We shouldn't allow the PA. Send the PA out. Send these people to Jordan, like all the kinds of stuff that we should have done years ago. He's basically saying we should do it today. This isn't just some schlub saying. This is a person who knows a thing or two about the capabilities, diplomatic capabilities of the Israeli government and also the American government. This is not a simple person. Mamash, it's akin to Lahavdil Yosef saying these kind of things, running around and saying, coming out of jail and saying like, well, here's what we should do. The only difference is Pollard is not a, nobody made him viceroy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I remember that some people were trying to say, oh, maybe he's Mashiach ben Yosef, right?
Yeah.
So I never really understood why, but I'm guessing it just hit me kind of because of the jail thing, right? Getting out of jail.
Yeah. I don't think he's Mashiach ben Yosef, but Rabbi, what's his name? Eliyahu, who was his rabbi, who was the former chief Sephardian chief rabbi of Israel, previously to that, was saying that you are connected to. He was telling him that you're connected to Yosef. You have a spark of Yosef, and you are actually. He was telling him that it's a sign when you get out of prison. That means Mashiach is close. And he got out of prison like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, something like that. During COVID, he got out of prison. Actually, no, I'm sorry. He got out of prison before that, and then he was on what's it called? He was on house arrest in America, and then he was allowed to come to Israel 5 years later. He got out of prison in 2015, and then he arrived in Israel. What's it called? In here, December 30th, 2020. Officially immigrated to Israel, became fully. So he arrived in Israel about a year ago. A little over a year ago. So that's already, Mordechai Eliyahu said that's already one of the signs that,
Just want to mention something. So I hear things like that, right? In statements like that, in the name of of rabbis, right? And I used to kind of fly off the handle and get pissed off.
Right.
And my instinct is just to say I'm sick of these rabbis saying, oh, this means Mashiach is close, and that means Mashiach is close, right? All this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's most likely in reality that what they actually said is not that those are not the words that they chose, and then they said some other stuff, and then when you hear their actual statement, you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's more reasonable. You know what I mean? They didn't say, oh, this, because the way people, I'm not picking on you right now. I'm speaking generally, right? The way people relate these stories and this rabbi, this person that said this and that person said that, they're not careful.
I hear.
With the wording, and then it just kind of.
Can I read to you what was actually said? I mean, it was published on Yeshiva World.
I would actually love to.
So this is a section of an article. It says, in the ensuing years, as the relationship between Rav and Jonathan grew deeper and more complex, the Rav would visit Jonathan every time he came to America. There was actually a story where I think I told you this, where he visited him in prison. Actually, Jonathan Pollard told the story. And all the Muslims in his cell block thought that he was because the Rav is like Sephardi, so he was dressed like how they dress. And they thought that the guy was Muslim. He was like an imam.
Oh yeah, well.
And they came up to him. They're like, "Oh, yo, an imam visited you, this and that and the other." And he's like, "Yeah, an imam." He's like, "That's how I survived prison. I survived." They knew I was Jewish, and that's how I survived not being killed.
Right.
It's crazy.
Why is it a mom? Yeah.
Exactly. So it says, unlike other Israeli officials who would always try to arrange a visit with Jonathan at the last second as an afterthought, Visiting Jonathan was always the Rav's first priority. The Rav did not relish leaving Eretz Israel and was always reluctant to be away from Yerushalayim. But for Jonathan, he was willing. He told us that he gladly accepted invitations to appear at various functions and events in the U.S. only so that he could visit Jonathan. I had the great privilege of attending most of these visits. This is a guy who was writing this
article. Was this Rev Mordechai Eliyahu or his son? Was it Shmuel?
Mordechai, the guy who passed away. He said, okay. Yeah, over time, the Rav shared with us and a few others who were very close to him that Jonathan's release is the key to the redemption of all of Am Israel. He taught us how Jonathan's release is also the key to the release of all of Israel's captives and MIAs. Once Jonathan is out, all the captives are all out. Once they are all out, we are all in Geulah. Perhaps most significant of all, the Rav always referred to Jonathan as Yosef HaTzadik Shel Doreinu, Yosef HaTzadik of our generation. While the Rav never forbid me from speaking these things publicly, he himself was reluctant to do so. I remember asking him many years ago, Kavod Rav, if you know all these things about Jonathan, why don't you say so openly? Why don't you speak about this in public? The Rav responded with a sigh, Esther, it would not, Esther, so this is his wife. It would not help anyone if I were to do so. Every Jew has to wake up, to open his or her own eyes, to realize for themselves that we have the Yosef HaTzadik of our generation languishing in a pit in America. Every Jew has to feel the pain of his suffering and to decide on his or her own to participate in this mitzvah, to do whatever he or she can to redeem Jonathan, and in doing so, effectively redeem themselves. We all have to wake up Am Israel to this mitzvah. The Rav spent the rest of his life doing just that, trying to wake up Am Israel. He spoke about Jonathan everywhere he went. He wrote prayers for Jonathan and headed prayer rallies on his behalf. He lectured and taught and wrote and constantly reminded the nation that we have a captive in America, and that the mitzvah of Pidyon Shvuim devolves upon each and every one of us. He also taught that in Jonathan's case, this was the highest form of the mitzvah, that it is the mitzvah of Pidyon Shvuim for one who was Moser Nefesh for Am Israel, that is, for one who has sacrificed himself for the sake of the nation of Israel. The wisdom of his...
Pidyon Shvuim, redeeming the captives.
Yeah. That is for one who sacrificed himself for the sake of the nation of Israel. The wisdom of his words now strikes home more clearly than ever. The Rav is prescient. He could sense things, see things, feel things that were beyond ordinary cognition. For example, there was an instruction he gave us many years ago that neither Jonathan nor I understood. We finally understand it now. It was at least a decade or more ago. We were sitting together in a prison visit and speaking with the Rav about the glorious day that Jonathan would be released, and we would finally come home to the land. But both Jonathan and I wanted to show the Rav how much we love him and how deeply we revere him. We declared, almost in unison, the minute we get to Israel, the very first thing we will do, the very first place we'll go, right from the airplane, we'll come straight to you, Kavod Rav. The Rav smiled faintly and shook his head. No, do not come to me first. First, you must go to the kotel. Only after the kotel, then you come to me. Jonathan and I never thought to question his words. We never really thought about why the Rav didn't say, my children, I will be waiting there for you, along with all of Am Israel when you get off the plane. Together we will go to the kotel. We just accepted his word, and always remember that our instructions are first the kotel, then the Rav. This week, after our beloved Rav left this world, we finally understood why he is not coming with us to the kotel. Now we know why he gave us our instructions so many years ago. Baruch Hashem, very soon. We must greet the Shechina at the kotel, and only then we may go to greet the Tzaddik Hador, our beloved Rav, Kavod Rav, Mordechai Eliyahu. Zatzal. He is waiting for us now at Har Menuchot in Yerushalayim, no less than he waited for us at the Shul in Kiryat Moshe all those years. This final anecdote is one that is painful to tell, but we think that it is one that Am Israel needs to hear in order to fully appreciate the degree of devotion and sacrifice, self-sacrifice that the Rav demonstrated towards Jonathan and towards the nation of Israel at large. Throughout the years, whenever the Rav was not able to visit Jonathan personally, I was their go-between. I met with the Rav very frequently to update him on Jonathan's condition, to seek his blessing on our initiatives, to receive his approval and advice on various matters, and to generally enjoy the light of just being in his presence. Although most people seeking a meeting with the Rav would be forced to wait weeks and sometimes even months for a spot in his very busy schedule, the Rav had an open-door policy towards us. He always made time for Jonathan. He always welcomed me, no matter how busy he was. He was always patient and kind and deeply attentive. He never rushed me. More amazingly, he never ended a meeting until I asked the same question I always asked at the end of every meeting. Kavod Rav, what should I tell Jonathan? He would respond sometimes with words of wisdom, sometimes with words of encouragement, and always with blessings. Only then would the meeting end. I remember a fateful meeting I had with the Rav. Most people think that the Rav's declining health started a year or two ago. This is like, I guess, when was this written? 2010. Okay, this article. 1 second. A year or two ago. Here, 1 second. Come on. Okay. From the time that he was first hospitalized at Shara Tzedek. But that's not so. It started years earlier. That is why this fateful meeting is a painful memory for us. It was around Purim in the year 2006. I met with Rav to update him on Jonathan's condition, which was extremely worrisome at the time. After I provided a full update for the Rav and his Gabayim, who was present at the meeting, I ventured, Kavod Rav, may I ask His Honor a question? The Rav signaled me to go ahead. Kavod Rav, is it true that Jonathan has been bayit, just like a son in your house? The Rav smiled broadly and replied, of course. The Gabayim were being...
Tip to Rabbi Mordechai
Yeah,
Eliyahu.
So he was saying that in the year 2006, I met with the Rav to update him on Jonathan's condition.
Wait, just remind me who is this?
This was his wife in 2010 writing an article how she met with Rav in 2006.
Yes, just
He says, so the Rav smiled broadly. Of course, he's a ben bayit in our house. She goes, I continued, Kavod Rav, just as Jonathan is a ben bayit by you, isn't it true that you are a ben bayit by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just like a son to the Holy One, Kadosh Baruch Hu? The Rav smiled, and Gabayim vigorously upheld the accuracy of my assessment, and all agreed that indeed Kavod Rav has been bayit by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kavod Rav, I began, as a ben bayit to Avinu Shebashamayim, you have privileges and influence that no one else has. I implore you, Kavod Rav, you have to do something in Shemayim to speed up the redemption. Unless you do something in Shemayim, I'm afraid for Jonathan's life. The Rav listened attentively. He let me know that he heard me and that he understood, and he accepted our request. Now, what was it that we wanted him to do in Shemayim? You see, the Rav was always very humble. He never spoke of being a Mekubal, master of Kabbalah, and yet he was the greatest living Mekubal of our generation. So when Jonathan and I asked the Rav to do something in heaven to move the redemption forward, what we expected was that he wouldn't do something Kabbalistic. What exactly, we really didn't know. Special Kabbalistic prayers, perhaps, special exercises that we heard about, we did not know. All we heard was he could do something Kabbalistic. I left the meeting hopeful and reported back to Jonathan that the Rav had accepted our request and that he promised to do something to move things forward in Shemayim. We were, for the moment, quite satisfied. The next time I tried to see the Rav, I could not get in. More accurately, he did not come into the office. He was not well. The following week, the same thing occurred. And the week after, and the week after that. The Rav was experiencing excruciating back pain and was unable to come to the office. I knew that if it was urgent, I could go to his home and he would welcome me, but barring a life or death emergency, there was no way we would impose on him uninvited. No one outside of the Rav's immediate circle knew that the Rav was not well. He was still attending functions and making painful public appearances. The Rabbanit was desperately trying to help the Rav, and she sought pain management experts and therapists from all over the country to give him every treatment under the sun, but nothing helped. It got so bad that the Rav even had to change his low-slung car because he could no longer bend to get into the car. He was in terrible pain all the time. Finally, after a gap of about 2 months, I got a sudden phone call from Rav's Lishkach bureau. Esther, can you get here at once? The Rav is waiting for you. I dropped everything and immediately got into a cab to get to the Rav as quickly as possible. By this time, Jonathan and I had already started to understand what was going on. I walked into the Rav's office. He was sitting on his chair, and his Gabayim were seated around the table. What is that noise?
What noise?
I don't know. I just hear a noise, man.
No, weird. There's no noise here.
Although he smiled and greeted me warmly, I could see the pain in his face. It was blatantly obvious that he was having difficulty sitting and that he was in excruciating pain. I got right to the point. Kavod Rav, I have come to you today with an urgent message from Jonathan. The Rav nodded to indicate he was listening and to go ahead. Kavod Rav, do you remember that Jonathan and I asked you to do something in Shemayim to move the Geulah forward, and you promised you would? Yes, I remember, he affirmed. I was getting close to losing it. Kavod Rav, Jonathan and I did not mean Yisurin afflictions. He never meant for you to do this with Yisurin. You were not supposed to take Yisurin upon yourself. The Rav smiled warmly and nodded. I did not quit. Kavod Rav, Jonathan will allow it. You must not do this. Won't allow it. You must not do this at the expense of your own health. Jonathan simply won't hear of it. You must stop at once. The Rav's reaction removed all doubt. He did not reject or contradict a word I said. He simply waved his right hand gently, enough for me to know that this matter was not up for the further discussion. And then he smiled gently and said, Esther, tell your husband he is brilliant. As if to emphasize, he repeated, tell your husband he is brilliant. From that day on, the Rav never had a healthy day in his life. His condition over time deteriorated to the point where he was finally hospitalized at Shari Tzedek and fighting for his life daily. Although secular society has no concept of the notion of a tzaddik taking yisurin upon himself to atone for the people, neither does secular society understand anything at all about the capability of a Mekubal, of the stature of Kavod Rav Mordechai Eliyahu to act upon the natural world, and how much more so to intervene in the spiritual world. Jonathan and I... What's up?
Can I stop you for a second?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So just, there is this idea of that people, that especially the nation of Israel, but all people are connected.
Yeah.
And that there are some people who can take upon themselves suffering for others.
Yeah.
Okay, for instance, there's one of the Lubavitcher Rebbes, right?
Yeah.
His daughter decided that she understood. She was also an extremely wholly connected person.
Yeah.
People who understand the mechanics of the spiritual world and are connected into that intimately. She understood.
Yeah.
And she saw that there was a judgment in heaven against her father, not against him,
Yeah.
but against the generation whom he was a gift to.
Mm-hmm.
And if the generation doesn't merit, then a tzaddik of that stature could possibly, God forbid, be removed.
Yeah.
So she decided to take it upon herself to give her. She essentially traded her life for his.
Yeah. Well,
She didn't. Obviously, she didn't tell him. She didn't say.
I heard. I think I heard the story.
Okay, so this does exist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but not for the tikkun, not for the ultimate atonement.
Yeah.
Everybody is responsible for fixing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be anybody who can take on your sins for you.
For sure.
It's not about taking on sins. It's about transferring who's going to suffer for the sins. It's a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sins still need to be taken care of and by the people, and it's going to be usually either by multiple, not reincarnations, but multiple, through multiple lifetimes. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, up to 4 lifetimes, as it says in the book of I believe it's the book of Job.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important. I think a lot of people get confused by that because it's not vicarious atonement.
Yeah.
It's not atonement.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting atoned. It's just like who's gonna go to jail for the offense. Suffering is gonna happen, and there is flexibility in certain cases as to who it can happen for, especially when the person is very, very important in terms of their job in that generation.
Yeah.
Okay? Like if you have let's say you have a person who, for instance, he can save the whole generation, right? He has the information that can save the entire generation and his work. So there are going to be people who understand the importance of that, and so they will, they'll give their lives to protect that person so that he can do his job.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I'm sorry for stopping you at this point. I think it's important because there's a lot of people who get confused, but they think it's vicarious atonement. And it's not.
No, it's more. So it says. Okay. Yeah. We know without being told that the Rav, the Ben Bai to the Almighty, is already standing before. Oh, hold on 1 second. One second, I just lost the place. Hold on a second.
Whoa, dude. Hold on.
What's up?
Side point.
Yes.
I'm reading there's a Twitter thing. What do they call it? A tweet. Sorry.
Yes.
It says, and this is from, what's today's date? Is today the 6th?
Today's the 6th.
So this is from 2 days ago. It says 71 episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience just removed.
Yes, you're late to the party, sir. It's not even 71. It's 100.
100.
He said the N-word apparently, and it was taken out. Somebody made a compilation of all the times he said N-word in his earlier episodes.
Of course, taken out of context.
And it's complete. And then you know what he did? He went and he made the whole explanation and this and like the apology and which is only feeding these trolls.
What a schmuck.
What a schmuck. And now it's like this whole controversy, whatever. It's like this whole thing, and everybody's like people defending him. Some people are going against him. Somebody wrote articles how it's typical because it's he has anti-vax people and he's anti-vax, so it's anti-vax and racism and anti-vax, and then it's like this whole thing of combining anti-vax and racist and insurrectionist and January, all this whole thing, this whole cacophony, American leftist cacophony, this whole lumpage.
Right. So actually, it continues. It says adding to the prior removals, 113 episodes in total are now missing. 6% of all episodes ever recorded are now unavailable. Okay.
Can I read you my last few tweets?
Wait. But here's the point. Why am I even bringing this up? I didn't want to interrupt what you're reading is very important. I'm just saying that, like, let's say, remember you said that the smokestack, she took episode 1770?
Yeah.
All right, so let's minus 113 from that.
Well, let's see. 113, you said? Okay. That would be 1657. So there's hope for your brother yet.
Yeah, he has like another 100.
Well, you know what I'm saying. I've been saying.
I'm hoping that Mashiach comes before the next episode. I'm not going to wait another 113 episodes.
Amen. Well, no, I'm hoping. Well, what would be cool is if instead of all that shenanigans, Shanahans, I think Rogan should just leave. He should just say, you know what, guys, thank you very much for your whatever supposed support, Spotify. He should leave and start his own, paid subscription, whatever. People would for sure subscribe to him.
I don't understand. See,
it's like Netflix.
That just reinforces the controlled opposition theory. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because he knows and everyone knows. Look, if Hannity, there was a time that if Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Mark Levin, freaking Joe Rogan, and all these jokers, right? They could have, if they were legit, they could have said "F you" to the swamp creatures, started their own thing, and they would be dominating. Alex Jones, they would have been dominating. Everybody would have abandoned them.
Wait, Jones did start his own thing. He has his own thing.
No, I'm talking about if they all got together.
Oh, I mean,
and they're like, look, no, dude, we're doing free speech, because look, they have the majority of viewers.
Yeah.
The fact that they stick with these places.
Yeah.
Right? And when they know that they could leave and take all these viewers with them and give the people what they want.
Well, they supposedly want to unite, and they supposedly want to, Joe Rogan.
No, that's all bullshit. No, they're supposedly bullshit is what it is. Supposedly bullshit.
Yeah,
Greg.
I don't know.
Because as soon as I realized that it wasn't happening, and that was the first time I started to be suspicious about Hannity. Okay? And he's not he wasn't talking about the Schmelection.
Yeah.
Okay? At all.
Yeah.
All right? And that's when I was like, oh, okay. And then Senator Rubio, right?
Yeah.
Today he says you can't a vice president can't recall the Schmelection.
Yeah.
Okay? So that statement proves. By the way, I've been saying that for a long time. But if anybody still had any illusions to him being a swamp creature, it should be gone by now. I mean, anyway, so all right, please go. I apologize. Please return to the article that you were reading.
So now he's talking about okay. Jonathan and I decided to share this story so that our people may have just a tiny glimpse of the greatness of this amazing man, of his willingness to sacrifice his own life for his own health and everything he had in this world, and for the good of his people, to help them, to spare them, and to speed the redemption so that none would be lost. Kavod Rav Mordechai Eliyahu lived his life and gave up his life on such an exalted level of holiness and self-sacrifice that it is beyond most ordinary human beings to comprehend. We know without even being told that the Rav, a ben bayit to the Almighty, is already standing before the Kisei Kavod, the throne of glory, pleading the cause of his beloved nation. We have in the Rav a powerful voice in heaven and a sublime Melitz Yosher, an honest advocate. May all of Am Yisrael be blessed in the merit of our beloved cherished and the exalted Holy Rav, speedy redemption, all this, like, may we have a redemption, all this kind of stuff. A parting personal note to our cherished Rav. Kavod, Kvodo, we love you. Our days since you left us, we feel the void deeply. We miss you on the earthly plane more than words can ever say. Be assured, Kavodo, we will go first to the Kotel and then to you, Baruch B'ezrat Hashem. Every day we will look forward to meeting you again, God willing, very soon. At Tiyas Amesim. Amen.
Amen.
So I was listening to the video that Pollard, he was talking about basically the idea of how, like, his wife basically had a dream of the Geulah.
Yeah.
And the whole idea was that, like, people, this was like a couple of years ago, and then it was a whole thing of like how people were trying to get into Eretz Israel, and they were, they were being checked by like the Rabbanut, but not the Rabbanut we have today, but some sort of other Rabbanut. And basically they were checking, like, if everybody was a Jew, because you know how in Israel today, like, if you want to make Aliyah, they let all these, like, non-Jews in, a bunch of these non-Jews in from Russia, God knows what, and Reform and Conservative. It's a balagan. It's like, it's almost as if, like, half of Israel is not going to be even Jewish anymore, right? So she was saying how, like, she basically was saying how she had a dream that we need to prepare for what's coming. It's going to be there's going to be a war. She didn't say what kind of war. It could be spiritual. It could be, like what we're having today. But for whatever war is coming, we're going to need to be as pure, according to halakha, as humanly possible, so that we merit a geulah, not with, with a kiss instead of with a punch.
Right.
And and it's funny. He goes. I didn't at the time understand what she was saying with the whole thing, but now, and then when I saw this new government come in, I understood. Because she was talking about, like, Erev Rav and all this kind of stuff. And now I saw this new government, and he mentions, like, the Bennett government. This is at the Shiva he's speaking, and he's like, now I get it. now I get it. And everybody, and then people in the background are like, yeah, this person was like a navi. Your wife was a navi. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just.
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you enlighten us a little bit about Jonathan Pollard himself? Why is he such a hero? What did he do for Israel, for the Jewish people?
Okay. What he did was, he was working in the 80s. He's originally from Texas. A Jew from Texas. He always had, like, a, kind of Zionistic upbringing, I guess you could say, traditional, Masorti. The guy basically went into the Navy, and he started working in Navy intelligence in the 80s. And they had him at a desk. He was involved in, like, basically he had access to information that, stuff was being collected. For example, there was information that America was supposed to give to Israel with regards to the Palestinians and with regards to Iran, and America was withholding that information. This is according to, like, I guess agreements that they had with Israel, quid pro quo agreements, right? So all Jonathan did, he was approached by some Israeli go-between. The actual person that he was working with at the end of the line, at the end of kind of the daisy chain, was Rafi Eitan, who was the head of Mossad. Either Mossad or one of the intelligence services. And so he was approached. I forget the name of the guy. I can look it up. He was like Air Force guy, something. And he was passing information. All the information he was passing was just information that America was gathering about Iran and the Palestinian, Arafat and all the enemies of Israel, that America anyway was entitled to give to Israel. All he was doing was making sure that it gets there. And at some point he was found out. He tried to go to the Israeli consulate. There's a whole story of this whole kind of like spy novel sounding kind of sequence. Yeah. They basically, in Russian we say, on poцеловал замок. He kissed the lock in front of his face. They shut the door on him. This Rafi Eitan guy pretended that they never even had any contact with him. Basically, the guy was sold down the river. He ended up going to prison and the person that sent him to prison, actually, I think he was a halachic Jew, Caspar Weinberger. This was the person under Reagan. He was director of the United States. One second. I'm sorry, not Caspar Weinberger. I'm sorry. My mistake. Secretary of. I apologize. Not Caspar Weinberger. I'll tell you the name. I remember his face in my head. Ay. God damn. What's his name? Just give me 2 seconds. I'll get you the name of the person.
The person who put him in jail.
Yeah, the person who basically made sure that, like, you know, he would go here, capture. The person's name was Shucks. His name was Shucks.
His name was Shucks?
No, I have his face in my head, and I can't place the name with the face. Unless it is Caspar Weinberger. Hold on.
Never heard of a Jew named Casper, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. No. It's not. Oh my God. Hold on. Person who sent Pollard to prison. He was the just hold for a second.
Okay. Well, while you're looking,
Yeah.
is there can I play devil's advocate for a moment?
Yeah.
This is my curiosity.
Okay.
Was there any way that America could have suffered? Because sometimes when a person, let's say, reveals classified information, the information itself is not it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
However, the way it's been gathered could reveal capabilities.
Yeah, here's the thing. The channel, you could say, it was Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger. This is the guy. The channel of information, you could say, maybe what was an issue, right? But the thing is, first of all, he was a low level enough guy to where that he didn't have these. He had access, but he didn't have that high access. Second of all, for things like this, people usually have gone to a maximum of. Essentially, the punishment did not fit the crime. People have gone to a maximum of. You could say.
No, I'm not going there. I fully. What you're just saying right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's of course that part of it is
that
so
goes without
absurdly,
saying,
obviously ridiculous that it's absolutely.
Yeah.
It goes without saying.
Yeah.
But my point is this is just for my own curiosity. I wasn't even really trying to make a point.
Yeah.
You know, like the UFO thing, right?
Yeah.
So there's the reason they're saying they can't release all this information is because they have to be careful, because it might reveal to the enemy how it was collected, with their with their ability to collect information, their sensors, how they work, some kind of like trade secrets that they wouldn't want the enemy to know about, so they wouldn't lose their advantage. Now, I have a feel so that is a slightly legitimate. I'm sure it's overly abused.
Yeah.
Right? Excuse. And I was just wondering if any of that played into.
So let's see.
This Pollard thing.
So let's see. 3 weeks before Pollard's sentencing, Wolf Blitzer, at the time a Jerusalem Post correspondent, it's interesting, he eventually ended up being CNN, conducted a jail cell interview with Pollard. The interview formed the basis of Blitzer's newspaper article, which also ran in the Washington Post, February 15, 1987, under the headline, Pollard Not a Bumbler, but Israel's Master Spy. So basically, this Blitzer putz contributed to this. Pollard told Blitzer about some of the information he provided the Israelis, reconnaissance satellite photography of PLO headquarters in Tunisia, which was used for Operation Wooden Leg, specifically capabilities of Libya's air defenses, and the pick of U.S. intelligence about Arab and Islamic conventional and unconventional military activities. So that you could say that, here, so from Morocco to Pakistan and every other country in between. So now you're going into Morocco and Pakistan. This included both friendly and unfriendly Arab countries. So now you get into friendly Arab countries, all this kind of stuff, you know? Prosecutor Joe DiGenova presented Blitzer prison interview as evidence in a sentencing memorandum that Pollard had engaged in unauthorized disclosure of classified information. By the way, this Joe DiGenova guy, do you know what he was involved in recently, most recently? Ironically enough.
Wait. Explain to the folks at home and to me who Joe DiGenova is.
He was the prosecutor in this case. He was against Pollard.
Okay.
Do you know who you know who he is?
Obviously a lawyer, but no, tell me.
Okay. He was involved. Okay. In March 2018, President Donald Trump announced that DiGenova and some other lawyer would join his legal defense team during the Mueller investigation. The appointments were withdrawn days later, signing an unspecified conflict of interest, though Trump personal attorney Jay Sekulow said they might assist in other legal matters. Okay. In 2019, DiGenova and Tonsing began representing Ukrainian oligarch Dmitry Firtash to assist his efforts to avoid extradition to the United States under a federal indictment as their associate and Trump's personal attorney. Giuliani sought information in Ukraine to damage Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden. This is all like, whatever, leftist crap. In November 2020, Trump named DiGenova, Tonsing, Sidney Powell, and Jenna Ellis to join a legal team led by Giuliani to overturn the results in which Trump was defeated. Whatever. So he was going against Pollard, and then he was hired by Trump. So after I heard this, I was like, you know what? Trump next time needs to do a better research on the mazal of his lawyers. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want to go esoteric with it, he needs to do better research on who his lawyers are. I'm not saying this guy necessarily a bad guy. I'm just saying Hashem may have looked at everything and said, probably not a good idea here. Next time, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe this was orchestrated by Hashem. You know?
It's certainly orchestrated by Hashem. To what point? It's hard to understand it.
Yeah.
But what you said though, that is a very good point. Like you should. Basically, here's what Trump should do.
Yeah.
Here's the primary thing that he should base every decision in his life on. If he would only do this, then everything that he would ever touch would be, he would just steamroll the competition. They wouldn't stand a chance against him.
Yeah.
Okay? And it is the following. Anything that he would do to assist Jewish people in doing mitzvot, commandments, anything that he would do.
Yeah.
Every decision that he should make should be based on helping Jewish people to do the commandments that God commanded us to do, the mitzvot. Okay? Whether it's putting on tefillin, whether it's anything. Okay? So in terms of, for instance, when they were doing the Abraham Accords, right?
Mm-hmm.
I flipped out against what's his name, Jared.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and people were like, "Oh, calm down, man. Take it easy." But here's why I got upset. Right before I had heard about the Abraham Accords, I was seeing all the time for years and years and years, especially right before I heard about the Abraham Accords, how Jews were not being allowed to go on the Temple Mount. They weren't even allowed to pray. They had to pray, clandestinely. A Jewish person is not allowed to go onto the Temple Mount and to utter a prayer. If he utters a prayer, he can go. He has to get kicked out. Mm-hmm. If he just stands there, or if he recites the Gettysburg Address, no problem. If he tries to say a prayer to God, he's doing it.
Yeah.
I just let's hold there for a moment. Just let that sink in for a moment.
Yeah.
We live in a world, okay, where you have a supposedly Jewish country, okay, Israel, where the place where Jews really want to go pray, where they really should go pray, right? The permitted areas on the Temple Mount, okay, they are not allowed to pray. Yeah. They can do anything else. They can go there. They can bebop. They could beatbox.
Yeah.
They could doo-wop. They could do anything they want.
Yeah.
They could, they could put up a stand-up routine.
Mm-hmm.
They could do skit comedy, but they can't pray.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's maintained by the Israeli government.
Yeah.
That's the status quo.
Yeah.
That Netanyahu and Bennett and all these creatures wanna maintain. Okay, now Jared, right? I hear him basically the next day when they made a big deal out of these Abraham Accords, and I was excited initially, right?
Yeah.
So he said, look, we want to make sure that Arabs understand that they could come to Israel and there will be no problem with them coming to pray at the, on the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, please come and pray. Come, we want you to come and pray.
Yeah.
Please come and pray in the Temple Mount. And I was like, surely there must be also some kind of clause or whatever the hell they call it,
mm-hmm.
some little detail in these
Yeah.
things that Jews can also pray, right?
Yeah.
Nope. Status quo.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I feel like with this this topic.
F them in
No, but can I tell you something?
What?
I feel like that this is Hashem speaking to us, because ultimately, this is a place where we have to listen. You may not like what I have to say, and don't get me wrong. I'm somebody actually I went to Har Bais a couple of years ago, on one of those tours around the periphery, whatever it was. I was there, and I feel like we should be allowed to go there. With that said, I feel like this whole thing of changing a status quo, it is political, but it's actually something that Hashem is maneuvering political machinations until we merit this. And I feel like, I guess...
Well, okay, fine. So what would we need to do to merit it?
Listen, we would, I'll tell you, so we would need to listen to Jonathan Pollard and maybe make some things happen, i.e. get rid of this Waqf. First of all, change the government. Second of all, get rid of the Waqf. You know?
Oh, okay. So it's funny, like that. Okay, that
but
clearly
Hashem
that needs to happen.
Yeah.
But can I offer an alternative?
Hashem has to allow for that to happen. Clearly, we don't. Clearly, the nation, like, dude, if you look at how Bennett came into power, he wasn't elected. How he came into power, clearly the nation is at such a depraved state. I don't want to say the 49th level of Tumah, but damn freaking close. That it's a message that Hashem sent. Like, holy crap! Like, hello.
Well, okay.
You know?
Okay, so that may be true, but could I just offer an alternative to the Temple Mount thing?
Okay.
I think will lead to a domino effect and everything else. I think that if the Jewish people in Israel just show up and say, look, this is our place, this is our holy temple, this is our holy place, this is where God told us to build his house, and we're not gonna, let's say, even if we're not gonna push it and we're not gonna knock down the abomination that stands there, okay, we should at least be able to come and pray. We want to say prayers to our Creator. We should be able to come and say it. So if people just come there in this the most reasonable thing anybody's ever heard, it's just a simple request, I want to come and pray there. If the whole country, if all Israelis, or most of them, or a very, very large percentage of them, okay, if it's not the majority, showed up there and said, we're going there, and this is our place. Everybody else is welcome too. We're not trying to bar anybody from coming here, but it shouldn't be that everybody but us is allowed to. This is our holiest place, and as it stands, everybody but us is allowed to go and pray there. So this is wrong. This is clearly absurd. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense on any level. Even if you're a cultural Jew, right? Even if you're not a believer, okay? You're just a cultural Jew, like the Erev claim themselves to be, okay? Mm-hmm. So go there, and that is the center of your culture, and it's also reasonable. It's logical. okay, that you should at least be allowed to go to your cultural center along with everybody else. No one's saying, oh, only we're allowed to go there, but we should also be allowed to go to our own place, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar to that my dumb metaphor about God and the discotheque that he built, right?
Yeah.
Remember? He's like, it turned out that everybody but him was allowed in the world. Right? They asked him to go stand outside.
Yeah.
So I think that alone, anybody who would try to argue about that would look like such a stupid, freaking, ugly, retarded creep.
Yeah.
Okay? And they are. That's what they are. Okay?
Yeah.
And so just going back to the original point, I'm going to cap it off here.
Yeah.
If Trump would facilitate or assist in helping in that process, where he should say, look, I could see him say that. He said stuff like that. He goes, look, the Temple Mount is a historically Jewish place. They're not saying that nobody else is allowed to go there. They're saying, please come. Everybody should come and pray there.
Yeah.
But shouldn't they also be allowed to go pray? Like, what are they going to say against them? So the fact that he didn't say that was his downfall. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, I hear.
Mr. Trump, it's a simple formula. If you want success, help Jewish people pray to God. Especially in the place where he wants them to pray.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It makes sense. It makes sense. It really makes sense, man.
And I love President Trump. You know what I mean? But like, it is what it is.
Listen, I think I don't know. I always say that Asaph has his how should I put this? Asaph has his limitations.
His Asaphness.
No, well, listen, Asaph, on the one hand, we know that Asaph was also very special, but in the state that he's in now, like you said, for as long as Yaakov remains Yaakov and not Israel, Asaph will have his limitations. Also, meaning, you see during Trump's presidency, Bibi had every opportunity to elevate together with Trump, or he had every opportunity, let's say, to take initiative in the sense of, Trump was giving him a green light by way of, what's his name, Pompeo, to annex.
Yeah, no.
Bibi
was already possessed by.
Just hear me out. So what I'm saying is, had Bibi actually gone and annexed Judea and Samaria, then actually that would have elevated him, and then that would have opened up some sort of channel of understanding in Trump to say, you know what, let's just go for the gusto here. But Trump, or any person like him, let's say, is going to follow our lead. And if we're not leading, we can get all the wonderful, embassy movements and all this kind of stuff and whatever, and Abraham Accords. But if we're not leading, if he's giving us the opening and green light, and we're not taking the damn thing, then he's just going to it's like the window's opening, but he's going to contract. He's going to close the window back up, and that's it. He's going to say, so we're just going to go in a different direction here. You don't want to do it this way? Okay, we're going to go to Dubai. We're gonna go make, like, I don't know, business deals, and so you can, so you'll be able to sell wine from Har Bracha, Har Grizim to some, I don't know, hotel in Dubai. Lord knows who's gonna buy that wine. Maybe a couple of Russians traveling, maybe some Israelis who are doing business over there. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Okay, some real estate, shtickle this, shtickle that. Okay, wonderful. They're gonna pretend like they like you when you come to their thing. Whatever. This and that. Bahrain, Shmachrain, all this shtick. We're gonna make some shtick. We're gonna pay people to do shtick for you in front of your face. As they secretly wanna run you over with a tank. Okay? And we missed that opportunity. Bibi missed, like you said. You said, like, listen, for all you're saying good, but the thing is, at that time, no one really understood that Bibi was under that spell until really the COVID hit, and then we started with this whole Schmaxine situation. Before that, Bibi was a fantastic prime minister.
You know who understood it? Rabbi Kessin.
Rabbi Kessin understood it only because he was saying from perspective of Bibi's not enabling, enabling the Jewish people to elevate in terms of an education level.
Right. But I was, when I first heard Rabbi Kessin say, I was like, come on, Rabbi Kessin, like, you're so harsh.
Yeah.
But he's like our best guy. I mean, okay, he's not. Yeah. Obviously, he's Arab, okay, but he's like one of our best guys. Like, maybe we can do something.
Who else
like,
is? Yeah.
He was like, no, he's finished. He's a failure.
Yeah.
Rabbi Kessin was angry at him.
Yeah, he was angry since 2015, 2016. But listen,
he was right.
No, he was right. But even at that time, I was just like, well, Bibi was very good at like outmaneuvering Obama, and now him and Trump can do wonderful things. Okay, so like he's being a little biznatch, you want to say, when they had this whole thing with the Harabayat, the metal detector situation, we want to keep status quo, this. But I was just like, okay, but I know, and I was expecting that finally when Pompeo came and said, just do, what's yours is yours, like what Asaph says. He told him, what's yours is yours. And this putz, like we said, with that coach from the Cardinals, and you let him off the hook. We had him right where we wanted him, let him off the hook. And he didn't, so when that happened, I was like, this guy is a clown show. And now he really needs to go. And I thought that,
I just didn't know who was there. I didn't know who there was there to replace him.
Well, the thing is, Gideon Sar actually, Rabbi Kessin was talking about Gideon Sar, but Sar also got under this. I told you this, right? Gideon, what's his name? Rabbi Kessin?
No, before Sar, turned out to be what he is.
Yeah.
Okay. It was just bummed out when Rabbi Kessin said, maybe Gideon Sar could be like a transition guy for Mashiach. I'm like, please, no, Rabbi, don't say that. Let it just be Mashiach.
Listen,
already. Please don't say.
No, but Rabbi Kessin met with Sar in 2015 or something, or 16, before Sar was even like a twinkle in anybody's eye. And he met with him personally, and Sar asked him, what should I do? And Rabbi Kessin said to him, to his face, just like Rabbi Eliyahu would say things to Pollard's face, except Pollard has emunah and this putz doesn't. He said to him, and he was already starting on, Shabbat and all this time, Sar was. And he said to him, it's already been decided in Shamayim that you are going to be the next prime minister of Israel. All you have to do is accept. He didn't say it's going to be decided by way of Bibi offering you 1 year. He didn't say it's going to be decided by way of you hanging from the chandelier upside down from your, from your legs. He said it's just been decided, and all you have to do is step into it. He did not say how. He didn't say, you're going to have to swallow your pride and be under, Bibi's second banana, whatever it is, He didn't say how it's going to be. He just said, it's already decided, just accept the damn thing. Did he accept it? No. He took what's called free will. Just like every other person we read in the Tanakh who came to a Navi, and the Navi said, and they did the opposite, and we got toilet games.
Can I tell you something about I agree with what you said. It's just too much of a bummer.
It's very sad. Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to address it, but I want to tell you something else. I think this might be a Kiddush. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. You'll decide. I think that Trump is he's a passion addict.
Yes.
He's attracted to passion. Let me explain what I mean.
Yeah.
Like Asaph.
Yeah.
Asaph is a passion addict. Okay? He's an intensity addict. Yeah. He's attracted to people who are really into stuff. Mm-hmm. Understand?
Yeah.
So, because the Jewish people didn't show that we were very, very passionate about the Temple Mount, about God's dwelling place, right? Everything is God's dwelling place. But God set up an official. He goes, that's my designated spot. Mm-hmm. Okay, where there's going to be a special. God said, I prepared a special expression of my divinity to be experienced there. Okay, that's my home. I've chosen that spot.
Yeah.
Since the Jewish people were like, you know, a lot of them, most of them, not everybody. Everybody. Some people are very passionate, like the Temple Institute people, right?
Yeah.
So, but because the majority of Jewish people didn't just walk there and say, listen, this guy's, you know, you're pushing too far. This is our center. This is our capital, our point of, you know, the pintala, as they say, right here. You guys are stepping on it, and you know, you're saying that we can't go there, and blah blah blah. Okay, so we didn't show. I include myself in this. We didn't show enough passion about that idea. So Trump's like, well, I didn't sense it, so I'm not gonna go out of my way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think he was looking at Israel. He was looking at the Jewish people, and he's like recalling what has he heard them really, you know, talk about as if they care.
Yeah.
And you know, he probably had to dig into his memories because it doesn't seem like anybody cares anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
During his administration. But he goes, oh no, they're passionate about the Golan, they're passionate about the, you know, Jerusalem being the capital and this and that. So, so he went there, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Remember, this guy is not consciously connected to Torah, not consciously.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a very he's a very pashut guy, but he understands certain things.
Right. One of his amazing qualities is his ability to be simple.
Yep.
You know, he understands what most people like, what most people want, what's important to most of them.
He's a salesman.
And he sticks to that.
He's a salesman. He's a marketer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, more than that. I mean, okay, he uses that in his business life, and it brought him a lot of success. Okay.
Yeah.
And but I think it's overall a mindset that it goes further than just his business life. It might be just the kind of person he is, right? Yeah. He wants to see, like a moth to a flame.
Yeah.
Right? He wants to see the heat, the passion. Where is it? And he'll go there. Okay? With the Jewish people, he finds them perplexing, and so do I. Was one of the reasons. Like, I have a little bit of Asav inside of me. That's the truth. Okay? Not like, hopefully not the worst parts, but in terms of being a passionate addict. You want to go where the proverbial, not the literal, the proverbial, allegorical, metaphorical fire is. Yeah. Okay? Because it's just like, you can't. It's like a person who's addicted to like passion and energy, right? It's just like the boredom of people who aren't is just so difficult to bear.
Yeah.
So I could kind of relate to him in that respect. And but at this stage in history, the Jewish people are asleep. I don't blame them though.
Yeah.
God had a little something to do with that. No.
Do you know when they were awake? When
were the Jewish people awake? You mean in recent history or ever?
In recent history, when Obama was president, I had never seen so much action, because I started my business in 2015, but I was even involved in that movement peripherally since 2012, 2013. I had never seen so much action in terms of Judea and Samaria, building, activism, this, zrizas, what we say, as I saw during the age of Obama. People were trying to build as fast, put facts on the ground as fast as humanly possible. As fast as humanly possible. And then when Trump came in, they were like, okay, let's take a breather. Instead of saying, okay, here's our chance to, let's annex, let's elect, a prime minister, or maybe people who are next to the prime minister who are going to push, force the issue. No. What do? You want to go vote for. I had right wingers telling me, don't vote for Ben Gvir. You're just gonna waste a vote. You might as well go vote for Bennett. Don't vote for Bennett. You want to vote for somebody religious? Go vote for Bennett. Date Leumi. You're wasting a vote. Or Bibi. And I'm like, you idiots. I'm like, if everybody's listening to you, and no, they're like, he's not going to get in anyway. I'm like, he's not going to get in because everybody's listening to schmucks like you. If everybody actually went and voted the way they wanted to, he would get in. You understand? It's a mentality issue. It's not a numbers issue.
Right.
It's a perception issue. Schmucks. And I was like, okay, you're telling me you're right wing. You want this. You want that. Yeah, but we have to be pragmatic. I'm like, okay, again, you have a prime minister who's been saying he wants to annex this for a very long time. He's fought off Obama for 8 years. He outmaneuvered him. You have now a president who's giving you things on a silver platter. Let's go vote for Naftali Bennett. Let's go vote for Bibi. He's gonna win. We have to strengthen the. Let's go vote for. Oh, just the collective loserdom. After all that work, after all that, like, we survived this charlatan, Hussein. Let's go vote for. You want to vote for a Keepa guy? Vote. I had people call, dude. I had friends calling me as if I'm like the kingmaker, telling me don't vote for Ben Gvir. And I, just nazlo, and to say in Russian, nazlo. I went and voted for Ben Gvir twice. Nazlo. Actually, no, I voted for him once. I'm sorry. The first time in 2013, I voted for Bennett because I was like, okay, he has Area C plan, and then I realized the guy's a fake. After that, he's a flailing in the wind banana, inflatable flating tube man. And then he started with this whole thing with like teaching Arab women how to do computers. I know why he did that. He wanted to get them out of the house so they start having babies. Instead of mehaziging our own people, he tried to weaken the enemy. Which is,
I would agree. Like, if in 2020, before March of 2020, I would agree with you about the reasoning that these people are doing all this stuff. Like, it all makes sense. But the way they acted during this situation throws all of that to the wind.
Yeah.
All I can say is I have no idea what they were thinking before, but it all had something to do with what's happening now. And it's clear that whatever they were doing wasn't, even back then, was not to benefit the Jewish people or the people of Israel in any way.
Yeah.
Okay? So,
yep.
So they have, it's clear, it's open, it's clear, they are enemies.
Yep.
People who understand, they are sending children to get poisoned. Dafka with zrizus, as you like to say.
Yeah.
With gusto.
Yeah.
He's trying to make sure that as many Jewish people die.
Yeah.
With gusto.
Yeah.
And he knows that it's poison. He knows it.
Yeah.
I'm not speculating on this.
He's backing away now. That's why he's seeing the numbers coming out now of per capita deaths. That we have the highest in the world. He's seeing what's going on in Ichilov Hospital and other hospitals as well. Majority of serious cases are schmacks.
Yeah, but 80%. The way you're saying it implies that he didn't know that was going to happen.
No, he knew that was going to happen, but now he has to physically back away. Now he has to, he's relaxing. Today, as of today, tomorrow, most of the Green Pass stuff is relaxed. They're backing away.
But he already did his damage.
He did his damage, and now but they're covering up now. Listen again. It's autopilot, like you said about other things. Autopilot. This is autopilot as well. These machinations in his head, because he's being controlled by, Malachei Sharis. So like.
Not the Malachei Sharis.
Not the guys. Yeah, not the guys on Shabbos.
The Malachei Sharis are the
ministering
the angels. The angels of the gates, basically. The highest. There's a little bit difference. There's the ministering angels of the nations, and then you have the ministering angels of holiness. That's not the same thing. I noticed myself getting angrier and angrier, and you know what it is? I figured it out. I have to pee really, really bad. My grandma was right. So give me a minute, and I'll be back.
Fantastic.
Okay, you sound like you're typing.
Oh, I have a friend who asked me. He messaged me. This is a rabbi I learned from. Very nice guy. he messaged me. He's with regards to the chart of the cases in Israel. Why? And he goes, "Why are Israel's numbers so high?" I go to him. Do you want my answer? My answer, or an answer you want to hear? The simple answer is that Omicron escapes the schmeck. The question we should be asking is why 80% of serious hospital cases in Israel are schmaxinated people. He goes, but that should be the same everywhere. Why is Israel an outlier? Because they're already on the fourth. And I go, Israel's on the fourth shot. They are the most vax per capita. They are the lab ahead of everyone in terms of the stages of this experiment. And then I go, it will become this way in America in a month or two. He goes, I don't get it. Why would that make them more susceptible? Even if the schmaxine doesn't work, they should be still the same as everyone, not worse. I go, unless, and I pause, I go, it weakens the immune system over time. It's difficult to accept, I know, and it's one thing to take two shots. It's quite another to take 4, especially the 2 extra that you're taking that are useless against shmomiron. It works via a pump and dump process. It spikes up the Shma antibodies to a high level initially, and then it looks like you're protected because you are for a short while, and then boom, slams down. After 3 months or so, hence the schmoosters. But by then, your immune system is trained not to work on its own. And he goes, is there data to support this or just conjecture? I go, people don't understand that it's a pump and dump, and the Ponzi scheme aspect is that they tell us it doesn't work unless everybody takes it. Data.
You suddenly stopped.
Yeah, no, I'm just writing back to him. More like explanations from doctors who are being censored. Epidemiologists and virologists with expertise who no one wants to hear from. Oh, data. Nobody's going to release data on this kind of stuff. You understand? Why would they release data?
Okay, so
it's just like
so you can talk to your friend later. I have a question for you.
Yes.
All right. So you posted something on Getter, on Schmetter. Can we even say Schmetter?
We can say Getter. Let's say Getter.
All right. Okay. So it says CEO of Schmeiser, Schmalberg, Schmurla, and then you say parents survived the Schmolocaust.
His parents, yes.
Okay, fine. Then you said the Schmed of the Schworld, Schmickonomic Schmorum, Schmaus Schwab, Schmurman, meaning German.
You can say German. Just say German. Yeah.
I don't know. I just try to be careful.
No, don't say the names, and then you could say the country. All
right. So basically, what you're saying is that Schmurla.
And then and then afterwards, I also said.
No, I know. Yeah. So basically, you said So then you said the BioNTech made in Germany.
Yeah.
And if I didn't know any better, it can't be. Never mind. Can you please explain this to me? I'm not following.
If I didn't know any better, I would say that the Germans are back to try to kill us.
Right, but that makes sense. I don't understand the Schmurla part.
The Schmurla part falls in line with what you said, that he is in line with the thinking of Mr. Schmoros, that he basically wants to solve the problem of Schmantai-Shmemitism by way of getting rid of the target of Schmantai-Shmemitism, namely the Shmemites. Okay.
Now that makes sense, but
yes.
I couldn't extract that.
In a link I should have at the end written, because on LinkedIn I wrote at the end an extra line. I said, well, what did I write? I wrote, never mind, and I said, God does have a sense of irony. I'll tell you that. Just for the I didn't give my explanation. I made it seem like I was just saying that it was ironic that this survivor of the Holocaust wants to do this, but that he's working in concert with the Germans, Tome, right? But I didn't go into the whole thing of this guy has this whole mishegas that Soros has about getting rid of the object of the problem.
Yeah, before the Germans get it.
Yes. So, and then I show people the chart of spike. People are so. It's like people can't even come to the conclusion on their own. Like they can't come to the conclusion on their own. What could it be? Why is there a spike? I don't get it. Why is there a spike in Israel? Why is it like this? What's going? Why is 80% of in Russian we say ну подумай сам, блин. Think
for yourself.
Think, doctor. Are people just devoid?
Think about it.
Are people devoid of the ability to think critically? Or they just
yes.
Or
I
if they
I think we've established that.
Or if they can think critically, they can't. Like this guy's asking me for data. Why the flip would they release data explaining to you why this thing is a pump and dump? Why this stuff that they're giving people works by way of a pump and dump? It goes up and then it goes down. Why would they tell people this? They want to go out of business. They want to go to prison. Они что, дебилы, что ли? No. Just I want to take people and just, it's like Greg Giraldo. I would never hit a woman, but I would shake the shit out of her.
He didn't say that.
It wasn't him. It was somebody else in Comedy Cellar. Who was it?
It was Chris Rock.
Was it Chris Rock? I saw somebody at Comedy Cellar say that. No, I saw someone at Comedy Cellar. Oh, it was Chris Rock. Okay. Chris Rock. Here. I would never hit it. Yeah. Chris Rock said that. Okay. Dude, like, I want to take these people and just shake them out of their stupor. Gosh. I mean, some of them are just like willing to, they're asking me, this guy's asking me. He's not like he's not, coming at me and attacking me. He actually wants to know, why is Israel like, because he knows I lived in Israel. Like, why is this? Why is like that? And he's like, and then he's like asking for data. But even just that question, can you show me data? I could show you a person who explains the science, and you want to accept his explanation or you don't. Data is somewhere. You know who has the data? Schmeiser internally and the SchmFDA have the data. They have the data. They know. Bennett has the data. Shmula has the data. Everybody's got the data except for the public. And that's what they're fighting in court now to hide. Like...
For 75 years.
For 75 years, or even if it's going to be like released now. Okay, the judge said it's going to be now, but now they're going to redact everything. Now they're going to fight to not redact it or redact it as least as possible and redact the right parts and the wrong parts of it. Seriously? You don't get it by now? Right. I'm just cursing in Russian because I don't know what to say.
Learning Torah increases peace in the world.
Oh yeah.
So let's switch gears for a moment.
Yes.
Shall we?
Yes.
I'd like to, before diving into this, I'd like to let the folks at home know, meaning Alex and Denise, that and a few others. There's a few others now. Okay.
Yeah.
That so I know that in the past I tried to explain some of this like gematria stuff, right? And I listened to it, and because I'd like to know what it, what your experience is of hearing this kind of information, and I felt it was lackluster at best. It's kind of hard to follow if you're not already familiar with it. I could see how people's eyes could glaze over.
Which of them? I'm sorry.
The gematria stuff.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And so. I was thinking, me and Greg were discussing, we want to bring this information because to me it's very important because we keep talking about how the divine nature of the Torah, the mathematical nature of the Torah showing that it is a divine origin, and we keep making these claims, but I want to be able to for people to see that.
Yeah, substantiate this.
To substantiate it, because you can't just keep saying it. You got to produce, right?
Yeah.
So I got this kind of setup where I can point my phone down, and I have a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Okay. And hopefully, if Greg agrees to this, we can spend some time I don't know if every episode or some episodes or whatever, some period of time where I could actually write everything so that you could see it for yourselves.
We should do it in the next episode.
Right. So I just wanted to preempt that, and just we're hoping to be able to do this. So tune in if you're interested in seeing how the Torah is mathematically divine. How about that?
Yeah.
What do you think, by the way? It's a great idea?
It's fantastic. That is actually very good.
I'm going to try to prepare, instead of, here's another thing I noticed. Instead of reading straight from the chapter, I'm going to try to prepare ahead of time and pull out, the choicest things and already have it, prepared to, not prepared, but I already know what things I'm going to be talking about and just focus on them.
Yeah. And
not to try to cram so much information, but rather just make some of it accessible. That I think that'll do more good.
Yeah.
And I also want to get Greg's opinion. I made a video. I'm a master. People don't know this about me, but I am a master animator. Yeah. And I've made a master cartoon about the and when you see the quality of these animations, you will wonder how I'm not working for Disney. Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Well, you've seen it, Greg.
No, I saw the whole thing of how you drew your friend and made him look like Beavis, and I mean that in a good way.
And I didn't mean to do that. It just turned out that way because.
I mean, he does kind of look like Beavis. I remember meeting him once a long time ago. Kind of looks like Beavis.
He's more of a friend of me.
He behaves like Beavis. No?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to get into it.
I hear. Face, as we say.
Yeah, but basically, right. So the animation that I made, it was on the subject of the letter Yud being a point. Okay, so essentially, I argue, and I think I don't know if Greg agrees with me, but I think pretty successfully that what we call Euclidean geometry, meaning the initial phases of the human being or the human mind, trying to understand the world around them geometrically. Okay, just the beginning of geometric thought, the beginning of dimensional thought. Okay, so Euclidean geometry, there's the principles of Euclid, or there's another way of, I forgot what it's called. There's a classic work, okay, of Euclid. It's called the Axioms. Axioms, and it starts off like 1 point. You have a point, and then it connects to another point by a line. That's step one. Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like I could successfully show how these ideas and all rudimentary geometric representations were derived from the Hebrew letters themselves, from the form and the shape of the Hebrew letters. And the point, and so my argument is that the point of the Hebrew letters is to jam as much information into as in the most efficient way possible. So the Hebrew letters themselves, their appearance was designed by God to encode and to contain and to concentrate within themselves everything, all information. Okay? And it has to be and obviously the letters have to be simple, they have to be easy to use, okay? They have to be, you can't have elaborate characters like Chinese, or hieroglyphics. It has to be efficient, and it has to be understood from the form, and so much information can be derived from the Hebrew letters, and specifically, well, really all of them, but specifically the letter Yud, the letter Vav, and the letter Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are all the the letters that you'll find to be in the name of God, Yud Hey Vav Hey, in the Tetragrammaton. And those three letters, they in their appearance, they explain the process in which God brings the world into existence from nothingness to somethingness. Okay, so I try to capture some of these ideas in a wonderful animation. So I don't know, Greg. Do you think that cartoon's ready for prime time?
I think it's all right. I think it's.
I'm not going to have time to work on it. So
I think people will appreciate its authenticity and rawness, because I'll tell you something. Our listeners, as few as they are, the proud, the Marines, as we say, like to call them.
Well, one of them's a Marine, a real Marine.
Yeah. No, so I was gonna say they've always, most people have messaged us, not just those two people, but other people. They really, I see people writing all the time in the comments and private messages. They appreciate our honesty, first and foremost, and our honesty and our ability to bring, the Torah down, not Torah down to, but like kind of raw reality, and make it relevant from a Torah lens, or the raw reality that we lived, which a lot of people also kind of share, but most people, even the people that we hear in podcasts, and even the people that we hear, let's say, giving Torah lectures, don't really get into in so much depth, maybe because they don't want to, share go into their past. It's too painful, whatever it is, they don't want to go into these places again, because it would be like for them it would be like looking into the abyss. For us, it's more like, you and I, it's very, not only therapeutic, it's helpful in this context. And I think that people who appreciate that will also appreciate the raw yet kind of skillful attempt you made at this, in this presentation. At least I thought so. Not only that, what is that noise?
That's my wife rummaging in the kitchen.
Not only that, I thought it was actually quite original, because I had never, and I remember asking you, like, where did you get these ideas from? And you just said, like, I came up with it.
No, not some of them.
I'm saying there were certain things that were like, wow, like, this is very original.
I'm not entirely sure that they are. That's the problem.
Listen,
you know what I mean? Sometimes you're not sure whether you heard it somewhere or you came up with it.
I think that what you heard was something akin to, if you ever seen that video from Carl Sagan, the three-dimensional people, and the two-dimensional people, and the one-dimensional people. Yeah. But what you managed to do is somehow, apply the Yud and all of its, so to speak, derivatives into and apply it with that, in that framework, which I thought was very, very impressive, and it only shows us, because if you're telling me about like how the Yud is basically this kind of the point from which all creation stems. You're talking about one dimension.
Well, that's not my point. I mean, that idea, everybody.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying if we're being told that, but if you have the ability to visually represent that via things tools we have available to us from physics, that's quite impressive.
So. With that being said, by the way, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
By the way, can I just mention one thing? There's a guy. Did you ever hear of this guy, Alexander Poltorak? He is Poltorak. Alexander Poltorak. He is a Russian-born American author, entrepreneur, physicist, and scholar. So he basically has whatever. He has some patents. He's the CEO of a company. He has a website called poltorak.com. What does he do? He links concepts. I believe this is him. like the parsha basically of the week. So yeah, sanctuaries in space and time. Parsha of the week to a concept in physics. Yeah, quantum physics. And he does the Talmud, he does all these different things. His only non-redeeming quality is that he has recently come out in favor of this poopy, probably as a result of being a little bit misguided, and I gave him a pass. But he has a lot of valuable things to say from a quantum physics perspective about about the Torah. So I've seen what I was gonna say. I've seen certain ideas, have certain attempts, but I haven't seen the visual that you presented.
Okay, so do you think that would it be too sudden to try to do this in this episode? So the entire, I wouldn't know how, but the entire cartoon is, like, if you just let it play, is 3 minutes and 45 seconds, but it's basically just a bunch of slides.
Well,
with
the only way that we could do this. Oh, so if you go to Chabad, so they have this whole thing, this Yud explanation. If you go to the Jew, hand of God, and continuity. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is something else.
Probably Rabbi Raskin's Aaron Raskin's book, The Letters of Fire.
Hold on. Yeah, Aaron Raskin, Yud. Yeah, it's the Kohen blessing, the Gematria. But I'm looking for like this whole dimension stuff.
The dimension stuff you're not going to find. That's pretty much the that was inspired by.
Yeah. This is Rabbi Ginsburg. Galenai. Manifestation begins from zero-dimensional point.
So there's a Hasidic discourse called they call it Basi Lagani.
Oh, I know Basi. I was reading yesterday on Shabbos.
Yeah, and it talks about the letter Hey. How the letter Hey represents 3 dimensions. Mm-hmm. Okay, the top line of the letter Hey represents the 3 dimensions they were talking about is the 3 interfaces. You have thought, and then you have the vertical line is speech, okay, and then you have the leg, the broken leg on the left side of the letter Hey, which represents action. So it shows you that thought and speech are near to each other, both in concept and as they express themselves in this world physically, because your brain and your mouth are in the same place. They're close to each other. But your hand, right?
Yeah.
Which is the tool of action. Okay, is far away. It's lower down, and you know how the broken leg of the letter Hey represents that's usually a Yud.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say leg, but it's a Yud, kind of an upside down Yud. Different story. Okay, but a Yud is a hand. A Yad is spelled similar to the way the name of the letter Yud is spelled. Okay, and represents a hand. So you have the top line, that's thought, the vertical line, which is speech, and then you have a distantly away, you have the hand, which is represented by the Yud, as the 3rd dimension, the dimension of action. Okay, the 3 interfaces. So that it discusses that there. And then the other idea about dimensionality and its connection to Euclid was inspired by the Vilna Gaon, actually. The Vilna Gaon asked one of his pupils to translate Euclid's axioms into Hebrew, okay, so that the children could study it, but it wasn't an exact translation. It was, but it was designed for the yeshiva student in mind. Now, I tried to look at it. There's even an English translation of it that can be found online. I think I sent it to you, right? Did you remember?
Yeah.
Ayelet Mishulash, something like that, right?
Something.
Hang on, let's look it up. I just want people to be able to look at it. anybody who's interested should be able to take a look at this.
Yeah.
1 second. Come on, stupid Google. You suck.
Stupid
All right.
Google. Yeah, they do suck. I like Duck Schmo better. DuckDuckGo.
I know, but I found it originally through Google, and I don't want to learn how to find it. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so the hold on, Vilna Gaon. Okay. Interesting. When you type Vilna Gaon is the first hit. I don't know if that's just for me or for the whole world.
Let's see. This is in Google?
Yeah.
Just Vilna?
I typed in Vilna and I got first hit in the Gaon.
I got Vilnius, I got Vilna Holocaust Museum, Vilna Shul. No, I keep getting Vilna. Oh no, Vilna Gaon was like the 6th thing. In nli.org.il, right? National something Library of Israel. Vilna Gaon.
Just a moment. Come on, stupid eyes, work better. Okay. Swine eyes. That's Peter Sellers. Pink Panther.
Ottawa police threatened to arrest anyone providing material support to Freedom Convoy. What up? Son of a bitches. Soviet Union, man. Soviet flipping Union. Soviet
Hold on.
Union.
Oh, man, this was like... Works. Okay, so... he was well versed in mathematical works of Euclid, 4th century BC, and encouraged his pupil, Rabbi Baruch of Shklov, to translate these works into Hebrew. Okay? So, is there a link, please? How about a link? Okay, so it's called Ayil, Ayil, A-Y-I-L, Meshulash, M-E-S-H-U-L-A-S-H, okay, which was an introductory primer to basic mathematics. Okay, so here is a...
Vilna Gaon's bathroom math.
Yeah, that's the time to study math because, you know, that's the only thing that you can't study. You can't do holy studies in that environment.
Too funny.
It's not that funny. All right. It's just kind of funny. Okay, so, damn, man, this sucks. There was literally, there's a link. 1 second, I'm missing those names. The Vilna.
Meanwhile, I'm gonna check if I'm
wasting the folks at home's time.
If I'm
maybe,
shadow,
maybe I'll
it's okay. I could always edit
it.
this, but I'm gonna check if I'm shadow banned on Twitter for now, while you're doing that. And no, I'm not. Wow, I'm surprised. I don't know why people are not like. This is very weird. I'm writing gems here, and people are just not happening. Once in a while they respond.
Why don't people appreciate our genius, Greg?
I don't know. They do. I think it's just the Yetzer Hara is just basically working. I'm telling you, it's you know, it's you know.
All right. You know what? I'm just gonna do this. Ayil Mishla. Okay, hold on.
You know what? I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this. Right
So how would we do this video? Like, can you like?
What we'd have to do is get off the phone. I would have to send you a Zoom link. We'd have to do the Zoom link, and then fuse that with the MP4. Yeah, fuse that with the MP4. Then
there's no time like the present to figure out how this is going to be. If we're going to do
no,
stuff
I can do it. I can do it. It's just going to be annoying, but I can do it. You annoy me. That's what you are. That's what you do. You're annoying.
You're annoying. You annoy me. Right.
Zanudo.
Okay, so I got it. So Ayil Meshulash in Wikisource, right? It's So basically, just people would just need to Google Ayil, Ayil, Meshulash, Meshulash in English, and then that would, that'll give you the link that you need. So. And I'm just to kind of, so it seems that the introduction 1 and introduction 2 were not translated, but the discourse, the first discourse, the general principles of classical geometry, principles 1 through 28, are so here it is. Just to give people a sense. Yeah. So this is the general principles of classical geometry from inspired or translated from Euclid's axioms. Okay, so section 1, the point has no length, width, or height. See, that's the no dimension part, right? The line has length but no width or height. The plane has length and width but no height. And then the cube has length, width, and height. Okay, so section axiom 2, the point, line, and plane are not found in reality, though are connected to reality, as a plane is the side of a cube, the line is the side of a plane, and the point is the tip of the line. Yeah. So these are the basic understandings, the basic concepts that a person needs to begin seeing the world in a mathematical way. In order to understand the world, you're using concepts which themselves are not found. You're not going to find them in nature. They're actually outside. They come from outside of the physical world. These are concepts that come from on high. And they come to us to help us explain and to measure and to contain or define the world around us, which we're supposed to do. Yeah. Okay, so this is what inspired. This is probably the main inspiration of the cartoon.
Interesting. My friend Frank is here. Can you acknowledge yourself audibly?
Acknowledged.
To the audience.
I'm here.
And for the first time ever, just give a quick introduction. My friend Frank is going to show us something that he made. You made this a while ago, probably.
I made this right before COVID hit, and that's why. Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't call it finished, but it's finished because I'm not going to have more to work on.
And it kind of got put on a little bit the back burner, but it's basically what it is it is going to be like a 3D representation of the what the letter Yud is coming here to show us.
Well, I wish it was 3D. It's not 3D.
It's the best thing we can get at the moment with regards to that, I guess you can say.
With our combined animation skills.
Yeah, and essentially what it is, it's basically this demonstrating what the Yud is coming to tell us and to show us about creation, in the sense of the Yud being the origin of creation, and then we get into the 3D representations of what that actually looks like. And as far as I can tell, as far as we've researched, no one has ever done this before, even though we know that there's a principle from, I guess you said, Gaon Mivilna.
The Gaon Mivilna, he asked one of his disciples to translate Euclid's axioms.
Yeah.
And the book is called Ayil Meshulash, right? Is that what it said?
Meshulash. Ayil Meshulash, yes.
Ayil.
Yes.
Okay. And so we can get started.
Yes, you can.
So
Ayil Meshulash, I'll just say real quick, is a work on mathematics attributed to Eliyahu ben Shlomo Zalman, the Gaon Mivilna. And it's got like discourse, 8 discourses: classical geometry, ratios and proportions, geometric theorems, trig and measurements of triangles, measurement of circles 1, measurement of circles 2, tangents and secants, astronomy and surveying. The guy was a genius. And then he actually had more discourses, but they don't list what those other ones are here. But
Right.
he's a genius. He was a genius. He is a
Right.
genius.
So he is actually. So as I was thinking,
Yeah.
why would the Gaon of Vilna be interested in having this word translated for Jewish people?
Mhm.
And so as I was ruminating on it, I was whittling, and during my whittling and ruminating, I realized that I think that this idea that I'm trying to put forth is what he had in mind.
Mhm.
And so with that, should we begin?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is if I let the whole video play, it's just 3 minutes and 45 seconds long,
Yeah.
but it's a series of slides with a couple of like my fantastic animation thrown in here and there.
Mhm.
So we'll just go through the slides. I'll try to go through it quickly in my, quickly for me. I am a long-winded person, as we all know, but I'll try not to be. Okay, so Greg, when you're ready, I need your full.
I am. You got my full, because I'm a visual person. As long as things are visual, I'm there. I'm in like Flint.
I made this essentially for you,
Yes.
without even realizing that.
It's for the slightly, in the words of Peter Griffin, retarded boys. Anyway, we're just kidding. No offense to retarded. Anyway,
Don't
moving
insult
right along.
don't insult retarded people by comparing.
Yes, exactly. By comparing myself, yeah, exactly. Yes.
But both of us. Trust me, I'm in the same.
Yes.
Anyway, so
Yes.
so here we are. This is the first slide. So it says here, in Euclid's first axiom, a point is formed. Technically speaking, his first axiom talks about a point. Well, it talks about 2 points being connected by a line, but I'm adjusting it a little bit. I'm trying to work even more rudimentarily than rudimentarily. Is that the word? Than even Euclid. Okay, so okay, Summer, please get out of the way. Don't step on the keyboard. Thank you. My cat.
He's talking to his cat, in case you were wondering.
My cat likes to step on the keyboard. Okay. So, okay. So again, in Euclid's first axiom, a point is formed. Okay. Now we're going to go to the next slide. Watch my fantastic animation. There it is. Hold on.
Fantastic.
Oh, amazing, huh? Okay.
Nice. Oh wow.
I made the hand go down.
But you drew this hand though. You drew all of this.
I ripped the hand off of somewhere on the internet, and then I changed it around a little bit so that I won't get sued. And also I needed to make some changes to make it work.
Got it.
I am not that such a fantastic artist. But anyway, but you will see some of my original art coming up. Okay. Now,
cool.
Okay, so this is the second slide. So basically we started with a point, and then a line is drawn from the initial point, over here, connecting it to a second point. Okay, straightforward enough. Next. Okay, the line is the most fundamental of forms, okay, right there, of the letter Vav, meaning that a Vav essentially is a line. That's what it's meant to be. A line which is drawn from a point. Okay. Okay. Not controversial. A line is a representation of the first spatial dimension.
Yeah.
Okay. So a line is a one-dimensional thing. Okay. A point, as we'll see later, is a zero-dimensional thing. Okay. And a line is a one-dimensional. Okay? So now this is a minimalistic drawing or a topological representation of a plane. See this?
Yeah.
So this creates a plane, or this gives you enough information to imply a plane. Okay. So you would have to extrapolate that. You would take this, you would seal it off over here, and then you'd have a surface like a table. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the first kind of parameters of a plane. So when you see this, it means plane. Okay. Yeah. Now, this is created by, you have a line connected, a second line connected to the first line at a 90-degree angle. Okay. And it forms a plane or a flat surface. This plane is the second spatial dimension. kind of resembles something, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this depiction of a plane might seem incomplete, and here's more of my fantastic. Okay,
Hmm.
so don't look at the square table. This is just avoid this right here. Okay, so most of the time the plane is depicted as a flat surface, like this, like the surface of a square table. So here comes a table. Square table has four sides on too. Fantastic, amazing. Oh, it's happening. It's happening. We're gonna have a table.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. Oh, it looks like one of those kindergarten for little kids situations.
It kind of, that's precisely what it is. So you see that this is this is a table, it has a flat surface. So this is what we would experience as a plane in our daily life, a flat surface like the head of table. All right. Back to the point. Okay, so the point, all right, or a dot, okay, is the starting point in geometry. However, the point itself represents something that has no dimension. Back to the point is the start and the end of a line.
Boom.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this is where I get fancy.
This is where the target balls come in.
Yes. Exactly.
The
Now,
target story.
Yes. However, on a deeper level, the line itself, right, is made up of points. So you could see here's a bunch of points put together. It's morphing into a line, and then every line is made up of infinite points. So this is just a representation to make people understand what a line is. And then moving on. So any line of any measurable length can be broken down to an infinite amount of points. So here's fancy animation for your viewing pleasure. But it gets the point across. See what I did there?
Yes.
All right.
Look,
and it's going to the word points. Oh, look at that, huh?
And I thought my jokes were bad.
Yeah, but they're necessary. So this is like the target parking lot balls, right? But there you go. All right. Worm's eye view, ant's eye view of a line. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that all objects that have at least one dimension, right? Like this line right here. That's at least that's one dimension. Okay. And up. Okay. Are. See, as it's getting closer, you see they're just made up of points. Oh man, see. Hold on, let me just go back. I apologize. Okay, right. So this means that all objects that have at least one dimension, like this line, they're entirely made up of points, and points have zero dimension with zero substance, which is interesting. Okay. So points have zero dimension with zero substance, which means they have no weight, no mass, and no volume. So this is just to give you a sense of scale. Okay, here's the size of the universe. It's like 10 to the 33, and then the Planck length down here, which is 10 to the negative 33. Interesting. Okay, so and then here we are. We're at the very central point. Isn't that interesting? Of the universe, of all scales, not just,
very much so.
Yeah, so there could be life of all types, but at the center of the universe is the human being. So I just thought that was worth pointing out. Okay, so the quantum level of reality deals with the smallest particles on the smallest scales. Okay, people are familiar with that.
After you finish, I'm going to tell you something incredible, and it'll be incredible. But anyway, go on.
Sure. I think we're making good time here. We're halfway done almost. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So now the quantum level of reality deals with the smallest particles on the smallest scale. So the physicists tell us that atoms are made of smaller particles, loosely termed as quarks. But the physicists tell us that these quarks are massless. They have no mass, which means they have no substance. If the quarks have no substance, how do they produce objects like atoms and molecules, which have mass, apparently? Question? Okay. Okay, so that was just food for thought, but now we're going back to the main point. So we have classical geometry would depict, it's one of the ways it would depict the third dimension, or a three-dimensional object, like a box, like drawing a box on an angle, right? Which is a depiction of a 3D object on a flat sheet of paper.
We're being zapped. Interesting.
Are we being zapped?
Now it's better. Okay.
Okay. So I'll just quickly say again, one of the ways that geometry would depict a 3D object, on a flat sheet of paper, which is what we have to work with, right, is something like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. All right. Okay, so these geometric concepts are needed to accurately measure the world around us. It's needed for measuring distances and speeds and mass and volume. Graduated cylinder. That's supposed to be a ruler. And you guys can figure this out. That's a speedometer. That's supposed to be an M. See that? This thing goes. All right. Use your imagination, folks. I suck at animation.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Now, most people would attribute these fundamental geometric concepts to the Greek mathematicians like Euclid. That's Euclid. It looks like Euclid.
Yes.
All right.
It's just a rabbi in a tunic with no kippah.
Not a rabbi. This is a Greek
Yes.
fellow. A Greek fellow.
Or rabbi just means teacher. So it's a teacher with a.
They've been accused of looking like Jews, perhaps. All right. Moving on. I don't want to get letters from Greek people, please. Just a joke. Okay. However, these concepts have been known since the very beginning. Right? That's what I'm arguing, that it's not from Euclid or his teacher. It goes back to the beginning. They are encoded in the form of the Hebrew letters. Okay? These are the Hebrew letters, by the way.
In case you didn't know.
All right, so this is supposed to be like a magnifying glass, right? Okay, so here we are. We're going to look at Yud. To begin to understand this, we will begin at the starting point of creation. This is the letter Yud. Here you see it in one of its stylized forms. This is a stylized. This is a stylized point, a dot.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, but well, it's the style is important because this has meaning and this has meaning.
Yeah.
Which, once we get into it later, we'll talk about. Okay. Now, in its most fundamental form, the Yud is a dot or a point, like the ink mark made by the tip of a pen. So imagine you take your feather, right? You lived 100 years ago. You use a feather, right? And you dip it into the little ink jar, and then you would let a drop of ink fall into the paper, and then you would smear the ink to make letters. That's how people would write. Okay? So that's precisely what God did. Okay, when He began creating the world. There you go. See, He started with a little drop of ink, and He made it into a vav. The Yud was the drop of ink. The vav is the line. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
That speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Here we have a stylized vav, but in its most fundamental form, it is a line extending from a point. So this is the point line extending from it. Okay, moving on. So here's some interesting ideas. So if a Yud is the point and a vav is the line, then how is the plane? Remember the plane? Okay. Because this is the no dimension, this is the one dimension, and this is the plane, which is the two dimension. So how is that represented in the letters, right? This is a Yud, this is a Vav. Okay? So how is the plane represented? Let's see what happens. Here's my skills in action. Brace yourself. Something's happening. I suck. I love this. I really love this. Bam. Bam. I know. I wish I could add that sound effect. That would be great.
It's like Pablo Francisco.
We could do a soundtrack to this somehow.
It's like slash my wrist, slash my wrist. Are you Ian? Are you Ian? Pablo, I'm Pablo. Are you Ian? I like how I just incorporated Pablo Francisco in this like
because he
very
belongs
Kabbalistic,
here.
holy.
He belongs here. He just didn't realize that. One day-
Exactly. Maybe he's Jewish. Maybe he's a Marano.
it doesn't matter. He's a person, and
Yes.
he
Yes.
belongs here. Okay. One
Yeah.
day we'll understand.
Yeah.
He made this possible. In fact, it's only because of him that we're here. Let's move on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the letter Dalet. Okay. Here it is in its stylized form. Right? But in its most fundamental form, Dalet is composed of two vavs, right? One vav and two vav, which means two lines. Okay. So this is a Dalet. The Dalet is the Hebrew depiction of a plane. Okay. So here we have already the first three steps, which is the 0 dimension, the 1 dimension, and the 2 dimension, are all depicted. So far, so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think my theory is working out.
I'm just gonna give you a heads up. I might mute myself at any given moment. Somebody comes in here, so I'm just like, you know.
Okay, no problem. We need your input, so not for too long.
Yeah, you'll just keep talking, and I'll just keep going.
All right, so this is the letter Dalet. All right, here it is in its stylized form. Okay, but in its most fundamental form, Dalet is composed of two lines, which means, well, here they are, two lines. Okay, hang on, my wife is writing me a message. Yes, I can do that. I'll turn off the tea kettle. Absolutely. Okay, moving on. Sorry, guys. Moving on. Okay, so earlier we mentioned that the geometric representation of the third dimension is a cube, right? Or it can be drawn to appear as if it's on an angle, right? Because we're dealing with flat surfaces here. We're trying to communicate ideas. So this is one way to do it. You'll see in your geometric textbooks, this is how it's done sometimes. Okay, so, but now the question is, how is the third dimension represented in the Hebrew letters? Okay, so this is what I think. All right. So the Hebrew letters are symbols, right? And this is my main point, actually, whose purpose is to communicate on a two-dimensional surface, right? Flat sheet of paper, the largest amount of information possible in the most efficient way possible. Guys, a Sefer Torah is a flat sheet of paper with Hebrew letters on it. God had to communicate all the knowledge of all information of every detail of everything that ever was, is, and will be, okay, in creation. So, and it all had to be done with the Hebrew letters. So, okay, so
absolutely incredible.
yes. Okay. So the largest amount of information possible, of course, right, in the most efficient way possible. Therefore, therefore, a picture of a 3D cube is not feasible. Too cumbersome. X.
Or as my coworker in Israel used to say, this is not readable.
It's what did he say?
Not readable. Not readable.
Not readable. Okay.
Greg, this is not readable.
Greg. Is that what you wanted? Is that what you wanted to say?
That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, okay.
I like saying that.
It was worth it. Moving on. All right. I mean that literally. I'm not trying to be a jerk. Not this time. Okay.
I know it was very. I hear.
I appreciate it. Okay. Now, very interesting. So this is the letter Hey. Here it is in its stylized form. So Hey is composed of the letter Dalet, right, which is the plane, and then we have a letter Yud. So this is most often the way the Hey looks when it's written in the scroll, right? But sometimes, in certain cases, instead of a Yud, we have a little Vav as, as part of the Hey. Okay. Now,
you're blowing my mind right now.
I need to double check this, but I think according to the tradition of the Ari, there are three or four legitimate Ktav Stam traditions. Ktav Stam, K-T-A-V-S-T-A-M, for anybody who wants to look it up. Those are two different words. And then you'll see, so there's halachot, Jewish law, as to how letters are allowed to be formed and what they are supposed to look like if a Torah scroll is meant to be kosher.
Yeah.
But a Torah scroll is not the only place where this type of script is used. It's also in the tefillin.
Yeah.
A person's in tefillin that men wear, these little black boxes, right?
Yes.
And you have scrolls inside that have sections of the Torah, okay? And also we have mezuzot, right? Those everybody knows what a mezuzah
Doorpost.
is.
Yeah.
On the doorpost, exactly.
Signs on the doorpost.
The word mezuzah actually means doorpost.
Yeah.
But the little scroll that we place on the doorpost also have this type of writing, okay? But in tefillin, according to the tradition of the Ari, possibly more, this is the first. You know how like Hashem's name is Yud Hey Vav Hey, so it'd be Yud Hey. This is the first Hey, and this would be the second Hey in Hashem's name, as it's written in tefillin of the Ari, and those who like my tefillin are in that tradition. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are 3 or possibly 4 acceptable halachic traditions. All of them are valid. They are not contending with one another. Each one is communicating something, and everybody, and it would be incomplete without each one of these traditions. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Okay, so Hey is used to represent the 3rd dimension. This is Illuminati, folks. Just kidding. All right. I just noticed that, like, I put this little thing here.
Yeah.
I saw 3rd dimension. It kind of made this triangular shape, and triangle is 3. 3 sides. Okay, 3rd dimension. Okay, there you go. Okay, now Hey is used to represent the 3rd dimension. Actually represents the relationship. This is important. It represents the relationship between the first 2 dimensions. Okay, meaning actually there's the point, 0 dimension, the line, the 1st dimension, and the plane, the 2nd dimension. Okay, so the Hey is a snapshot, okay, of a process where the 2nd dimension, the plane, is the end of a process, and then when you add the Yud, right, that is the beginning of a new cycle, of a new pattern of Yud, Vav, and Dalet. Okay, again, Yud is the point, Vav is the line, Dalet is the plane. Okay, we're starting a pattern here. Okay, so the disconnected Yud or Vav, okay, underneath the Dalet, is communicating that the 3rd dimension is not merely just a continuation of a 2D plane, right? Because think about it. The point, which starts over here, right, turns into a line, which is the Vav, and then another line is formed, okay? And you see, it's just a straightforward kind of, they're all connected. And that represents 0 to 2 dimensions. But the 3rd dimension is not just a simple continuation. There's a complete break, okay? And it's not clear how the 3rd dimension is connected to these previous 0, 1, and 2 dimensions. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just so a 2-dimension, a 2D plane is just a line that changes direction at a particular point right here. Okay. However, the 3rd dimension requires a conceptual leap. Okay? Animation, folks, get ready.
Yes.
So see this right here, I just had to make sure people don't understand that this is, I don't literally think that's where it came from. Just just kind of a metaphor. Okay. Just a representation. All right. Take it
Mhm.
easy. Don't write letters. Okay. Now, apparently, this looks like one of my friends. I didn't mean to do it that way.
Mhm.
Okay. A different. So this is the back of a person.
Or as you call him, frenemy.
A frenemy, right? So he's really my brother. Just one day, he'll see that too. So,
Mhm.
so basically, this is the back of a person. See, he's sitting in a chair. You don't see the rest of the chair. Okay. And he's staring directly at a yud. Now, hold on. I'm going to turn off the tea kettle now. Perfectly timed tea kettle. I think the tea kettle is trying to tell us something, that we're at a very crucial point here. Okay, so here we are.
Huh.
So we have somebody, right? And it's like,
Mhm.
imagine you're him, you're staring directly at a very large letter hey, right in front of you. Okay.
Mhm.
So the observer is positioned perfectly in front of the third dimensional line. He may not even notice its depth. Okay, this would be the third dimensional line. Watch.
Boom, boom, boom.
Right, we're almost there.
I
Bang, there you
yes.
go. So remember, folks, this was
It's Beavis watching television.
right, but more importantly, what is Beavis not seeing? He was looking at this, but he didn't see that to him, this right here looks
Mhm.
like the yud. But he doesn't see the depth behind it. He doesn't see that there's a line extending, because from his angle, from his perspective, you can't see it. Okay, it exists in a different dimension.
Yeah.
Okay? So now imagine someone staring directly at the tip of a long, very straight, very fine needle.
Mhm.
If people saw the first Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr., there's a point in the movie where he pulls Watson back. Watson was lunging towards the enemy, a bad guy,
Mhm.
and Sherlock Holmes had to pull him back because Watson didn't notice that he had a very long, very, very sharp, transparent, almost needle, right, pointing at Watson. Watson didn't notice it. So it's kind of like that. Okay, now since its length is entirely hidden behind its tip, this is the tip, the length is hidden behind it, it would appear to the observer as a point. So this is just an idea. Okay, so this is not, it's just an idea, folks. Moving on. Okay, so let's review. Here we have, this is the point or the yud, 0 dimension. And we have the vav, right? First dimension. And we have the dalid, which is a plane, second dimension. Conceptual leap, okay? And then we have the third dimension, okay?
Mhm.
So it's very interesting. It's like this appeared out of nowhere, right? Then it formed into this, then this formed into this, okay? And then we have the cycle beginning again, because right here, out of nowhere, the point appears out of nowhere, just like it did the first time. Okay, so this right here, 1, 2, 3, this represents a cycle. This represents, it's a snapshot of the end of one cycle, right? This dalet is the end of the first cycle, and this yud represents the beginning of the next cycle. Okay, so it's a snapshot of a process. The letter hey. Moving on. Okay, now we will see how the yud appears into reality and begins to start expanding and forming existence itself. So this is some animation, not terrible. Okay, so after the dalet is formed, which is the plane, okay, the conceptual leap comes in the form of a yud that appears on the lower left side underneath the roof of the dalet, which is right here. Okay, okay. Okay, here it is. So the letter hey is the symbolic depiction of a 3D reality. Okay, hang on, which is what we live in, consequently. Incidentally, excuse me. The letter hey demonstrates the mysterious appearance of the yud, right here, once again, out of nowhere, just as it appeared out of nowhere the first time. Moving on. Okay, this is kind of an idea that I think was inspired by Rabbi Baxt. So the eternal process of the manifestation of existence itself, the way God continues to create existence, as it expands and develops from a seed, which is the yud, right? That's another way of looking at the yud, as a seed, right? A dot, a point, a seed. Okay, and this is how the world continues to exist and expand even now. Okay, and it can be visualized by the sine wave. Okay, so here's the beginning of a cycle, and here's the end and the beginning of the next cycle. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is a cycle right here, right? This is the midsection, and okay, people know how to read a sine wave. I'm not gonna. But by the way, this Yud and Hey, this is the first two letters of God's name, Yud Hey Vav Hey. Okay? And by the way, that is a name of God itself. Even by itself, like
mind blown.
Yeah.
Again.
You know how this is the Rastafarians love this name actually. This is the name they use. They call him Jah, but this is
Jah.
So when we refer to this name, right? If we read it in the Torah during services, or we use it in prayer, so we would pronounce it just for the sake of learning. We'd say Yah. But from this point on, we're going to refer to it as Ka, because that's not a direct. It points to the name. So from now on, when I say Ka, everybody knows what name I'm talking about, and I don't have to use the Lord's name in vain and violate the third commandment. Okay. Moving on. Okay, so this is kind of another kind of metaphor. Here we have a pencil, God's pencil. And you see the tip of the pencil is shaped like a yud. Right? I call it a hyperspace pencil. God might have another name for it. I don't know. Okay, so this is hyperspace and nowhere. I'm equating them. Okay, all right. And this board here, right? This kind of like screen, or it's supposed to be a blackboard, but it's a blue board. Okay, this is called somewhere. Everything in the screen represents existence, not just our physical universe, but this also contains within it the spiritual universes and everything that God ever created, everything that's part of the creation. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Watch what happens. Watch what happens.
Boom.
Bam. There we go. Okay. Yud appears out of nowhere, right there.
Just like that.
It's there.
It appears.
Yes. Okay. This is how it manifests, right?
It's like the Joker. I'm going to make this pencil disappear.
Yes.
Ta-da! Magic.
Right. Soon it will disappear. Okay. So here we go. Right. It created this plane, or the dalet, right? 2 dimensions created. Okay. Now the pencil withdraws again. Where did it go? Just like that, it's gone. But watch. Bam! It comes back just like it did the first time, right? But this time underneath the plane that it created. Okay. Why? Because it's beginning a new cycle, which it's going to create again, starting with this point, then it's going to create a vav, right? And then it's going to create a dalet, which is a plane, and then it's going to restart the cycle. Okay.
Crazy.
Yes, it is. Wow, look where the video is right now at 3 minutes and 33 seconds. I did not plan that.
What?
That is
What?
literally, this right here was literally the point of like
I said, episode 47, 4 plus 7 equals 11, 7 minus 4 equals 3, 11 times 3 is 30.
It's,
Boom.
I'm actually taking that seriously. Moving on.
I said, yeah, so am I. I'm not messing with you.
I don't know. I'm just, we do kid around.
I mean, I am messing with you, but I'm not messing with you.
Right. That's what that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Mhm.
Now here we are, folks. We've been talking about, what have we been talking about? We've been talking about the point, right?
Yes.
Then it expands into the line, right?
Mhm.
Then it goes, then eventually becomes the Dalet plane.
Mhm.
And then we start the process again, right? Okay. So this right here, this represents an entire cycle. This is God's name, Yud, Hey, right? But
Mhm.
Yud Hey is also part of a larger, more fundamental name, Yud
Mhm.
Hey Vav Hey, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So what is this right here? Right? If this represents an entire cycle, what is this? What does this represent? So
The fractal, I guess, right?
this
Or
represents this represents kind of like the whole picture, right? In a flash, kind of like this gives you like a quick understanding of how everything works. This right here, it wants you to focus in on one of the steps.
Mhm.
Okay? It
Mhm.
wants you to take a deeper look into this, into what happens here. Okay? Between this is a like an intermediary phase of this, okay, of the first two letters, but it didn't have it didn't have time to explain it to you the first time with these first two letters. Now it's going to come and give you a detail that you didn't see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now check this out. This is something I didn't really include, but I wanted to express. Okay. So you have this point. Okay. And in Kabbalah and Chassidut talks about that the Yud and the Hey, they come together. They represent the partsufim of Abba and Ima, right? It's Abba and Ima, okay? And even though they look here, it seems to us like they're two separate letters, but in reality, as they exist in reality, they are never separated. They are always in a union together, okay? So
Mhm.
one way to picture that would be, imagine like we have this Yud, it's floating, and then it enters into the Hey. Okay. So, and in Hebrew grammar, by the way, very often when you see a Hey at the end of a word, you see a dot, a dagesh inside of it, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that is connected to this idea. Okay. Of the Yud entering into the Hey, of being united with it. Okay. Now, this is very interesting. What do you think? This is just an idea, but the Hey kind of looks like a machine. It reminds me of a Vav making machine. Like you take the
Yeah.
Yud,
Yeah.
you stick it in here, and then out comes a Vav.
Yeah.
But
It's
in
almost
fact,
like the ice cream, the soft Mr. Softy,
yeah, it's
Mr.
like
Yudi.
right. It's like it takes like like a ball, right, and then it
Mm-hmm.
it goes, and then when you push it through, it creates the
Mhm.
stretched out shape.
Yeah. Yep.
It's the Vav.
Yep.
Now, in reality, Abba and Ima, they have an offspring. The offspring is their Anpin, which is symbolized by the Vav. Okay. For those who are familiar, Zer Anpin is the name of a partsuf, which represents 6 sfirot:
Yeah.
Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Pod, Yesod. Okay, those are 6 sfirot. Okay, they form a unit, the torso with the appendages. Okay. All right, and that's represented as Zer Anpin, as its partsufic name. Okay, and the Vav is the Vav. It represents that partsuf, or that group of sphirot. Okay, and it is represented as the offspring of Abba and Ima. Okay. Now I know what some of you are thinking right now, and I'll get to it. Relax, nerds. Okay. All right. So here we are. Okay. So this is the offspring. Okay. And so that would be like this resultant stage. Okay. So not only does it represent an intermediate stage, but it also represents the result of the union of these two. Okay. So that's what this Vav is depicting. Okay. And then and then you have the final Hey, okay, which I should have put it here, but in the fill-in written in the tradition of the Ari, this Hey would be a Vav,
Mhm.
okay, instead of a Yud. Okay, so imagine like a little Vav here underneath the Hey, okay, and that represents the union of Zer Anpin with Nukva, which is the final Sphira, which some people or many people know as Malchut. Okay. Now, so this Yud represents the highest of the created worlds or semi-created world called Atzilut. Okay. This Hey represents the world of Beria, the first created world. Okay. This Vav represents Yetzira, which is what we call heaven. Okay. In the first verse of the Torah, it says, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashemayim ve'et ha'aretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So this heavens is Yetzira, okay, and this represents the heavens that, okay, and this here represents the earth, the physical universe. Okay, so this name, as you see, this is the name of God, but God doesn't really have a name. Okay, he doesn't need a name, he's undefinable. This is a formula which represents creation, how God creates all of existence, everything that falls into the category of existence. This is the formula, okay, which represents the creative process that God uses. That's why this name, it's one of the reasons why this name is so vital, so holy, so important, so special, okay? And people spend their lives meditating on this name alone. Moving on. Okay, so actually just going back for 1 second, this whole time we were talking about Yud and Dalid, right? Or Yud and a Vav and a Dalid, right? As you can see, this name is made of all the letters that we were talking about. Like this is the point, this is the line, this is the plane, this represents the beginning of, or the end of one cycle and the beginning of the next cycle. You see that it's all included in God's name here, right? Okay. Now, we've spoken about this before in the Yud episode, and I think that's why this should be an addendum to the Yud episode. Okay, like this, this section of it. So this is the letter Yud, right? And this is how the letter Yud is spelled. This is the name of the letter Yud. This is how you would spell it. And as you can see, it is precisely the process. Here's the point, 0 dimension. Here is the line, the first dimension. Here is the plane, the second dimension. Okay? It's all there. Okay?
It's amazing.
Folks. So
That's just doodly moodlies.
What is it? That's some, well, yeah.
No, this is just
those are some ideas. They're not, that was going to be the next, those are notes for the next, for if I ever was going to continue doing this cartoon. But if you guys can make any sense out of it, by all means. I don't recommend it.
I happen to think it's great.
Okay.
With that said, I think we should do, I think you could probably do a different, is this the only letter with which there can be a representation of anything in terms of this kind of structure?
Well, yes, because when we focus on the name Yud Hey Vav Hey, right, and it's made like that name in a very deep way is describing this process. God creates he introduces existence as a point, as the Yud, then it expands as the Vav. This is the pattern that God chose to create the world with. Now, all the other letters in the alphabet are constructions off of these fundamental building block letters. Okay, if you look at the alphabet, you can see that. Let me see if we can kind of look at that for a moment. We'll go back to the beginning. Trying to find, I had the alphabet somewhere here. Yes, I am embarrassed. It's my own cartoon. I can't remember where the alphabet. Okay, there we go. Oops. Okay, so check this out. Look, you see the Aleph?
Yes.
Greg.
I see it. I see the Aleph, yes.
Greg, okay. So
it's two Yuds and a Vav going across.
that's right. So we have, here's a
Going
Yud,
diagonal.
here's a Yud, here's a Yud. Sometimes this is depicted as a Daled. See the bottom part, right? You hear that, Greg?
Yes.
So, which is amazing because the Aleph spells the name of the letter Yud.
Incredible.
Okay, so in certain contexts, okay, that can be depicted. The RE talks about that. Okay, but here, this is the primary depiction. You have a Yud, and you have a Vav, a diagonal Vav, and then you have a Yud. Okay, now this form here represents the top Yud, represents the 10 Sphirot. This is the way God presents himself to us. Okay, he comes, he created a persona for us to look upon spiritually, meditate in our mind's eye through prophecy. Okay, God, like the prophets, when they would have prophecy, they would experience God in the form that he designated to be experienced. Okay, and that represents the top Yud. Remember, there are 10 Sphirot, and Yud, the gematria of Yud is 10. Okay, so then you have this Vav over here, okay, which is like it's kind of like, it represents the world, actually. The Vav represents the created universe, because how long did God take to create the universe? 6 days. And the Vav is gematria 6. So it's reminiscent of the 6 days of creation. Now, the word universe in Hebrew is olam, which is related to the root helem, which means conceal. So what we call a world is actually a concealment of God, right? So here we are. Here's the top Yud, which represents God, or the expression that he designated for us. Okay, concealed by the world, the Vav, and here we are on the bottom. We are the bottom Yud, because we were created in this image, in this design. Okay, so here we are. We're separated, at least perception with our perception, by the world, which is this Vav. Okay, so that's the Aleph. Okay, constructed of Yud, and Vav. Interesting. If you're going to do the gematria of these components, Yud is 10, Yud is 10, 20, and then Vav is 6. That's 26, which is also the gematria of Yud Hey Vav Hey. Okay, I'm sure that was all a coincidence. Moving on. So here we have Bet, right? You can see that Bet is made of 3 Vavs. 1 line, 2 line, 3 line. We all see that? Or you could think of it as a Daled in a Vav right here. Okay. Gimel. Now the problem is, folks, that these letters here, these are not really the letters as they appear in the Torah scroll. These are kind of like made for print. Okay. But so I'm going to have to kind of explain. May not be a great idea, but anyway. So a Gimel is made of a Vav. See, like you see this like Yud here, and then the stick coming down. See that? And then on the left, on the lower left, is another little Yud, right? So it's like a Yud and a Vav. That's the Gimel. Okay?
Incredible.
The Dalet is made of obviously a Vav and a Vav, as we said before. The Hey we spoke about extensively, right? It is a Vav and a Vav, Dalet, and then a Yud over here. The Vav is obviously just a line, right? Like we said. The Zion is a similar idea to the Vav. Okay, this is a like a different angle of the letter Yud. Okay, and this is a line as well. Okay, it's a similar idea, but there are nuances. We can talk about that another time. Okay, and because we're going to have to look at the Katav Stam letters to really see it. Okay, here's the Het. It could be looked at as 3 lines, right, which is 3 vavs. Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, now when it comes to the Tav, to the Tet over here, obviously this is like a Zion, right, like right here. Okay, which is just a Yud and a Vav. But then there's another kind of interesting component. It represents this kind of spiral. You see this? It's not a full spiral, but this symbol over here is showing you how the Zion, right? It extends and begins to spiral. And it's not a full spiral. This is an implication of a spiral, right? It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be the full spiral. It started the process of the spiral. And you can extrapolate the rest. That's what geometric symbols are, efficient geometric symbols. You don't have enough space to draw an entire spiral. You need to create a symbol which represents it. That would be the Tet. Okay, the Yud obviously we spoke about. Okay, the Chaf is there is a sense of curvature to it. Okay, which we can talk about as well, but this can be depicted as 3 lines as well. Okay, just 3 vavs. Okay, this obviously speaks for itself. Okay, now what's interesting is that in reality, the lamed over here is actually a chaf with a vav, with a little tiny vav sticking on top of it. Okay, that's how it would look like in the Torah, but they created this for some reason they did this. I'm not sure why they did that. Okay, but in reality, this lamed is supposed to be a chaf with a little tiny vav on top, like that.
Yeah.
The mem is actually a vav. You can see that here, right?
Yeah.
Also connected to the chaf.
Yeah.
You see that? Okay. And there's like they're not touching here, but they're touching over here. Okay. This is the same idea, except that they're touching on the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. The nun, okay, is actually it's another curvature, but it can definitely be viewed as a little yud, vav, and a vav. Okay.
Yeah.
And this obviously is just an extended vav looking thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Now this is also the same, right? This is a samach, right?
Yeah.
You can see the little, all of the letters have this little like point sticking up, right? That all is just an extension of this. So the samach is this right here. It's the mem, okay, but with the bottom connected too, as well as not like it's here. See, so it's a nuanced version of this. Okay, the ayin, okay, is a nun with a zayin. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. The fei, right? Very interesting. Is just a chaf with a little yud sticking down from the bottom, an upside down yud.
Yeah.
And by the way, the negative space inside, right? When you see it in the Sefer Torah script, is actually in the shape of a bet. It's exactly in the shape of a bet. If you were to see it, okay. I'm gonna try to get like the Katav Stam alphabet next time so people can see. Okay, right? And a pei is a mouth, right? And what does it speak? It speaks Torah. What's the first word? What's the first letter of the Torah? It's a bet. So here's the mouth, the holy mouth that speaks Torah, with the letter starting with the letter bet. First thing that comes out of it. Okay. So here's just another play on that. Okay, it's exactly the same as this. It's 1 stick, 2 sticks, and a little yud sticking from the bottom. Here's another. This is the letter tzaddik, right? So this is a nun. Okay, a bent nun with a yud on its back. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Here is the same idea except extended down. Right? And by the way, this is the letter kuf. Okay. Now the kuf is really just the letter chaf, right? with a with kind of like a nun,
Yeah.
like a nun safit or an extended
Yeah.
vav. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of sticking down. In a lot of sense, it appears it's sort of similar to a hey, but it has an extended, like broken leg that goes down. Okay, and we have the resh, which is again similar to the dalet. Okay, but there's an important difference. We could talk about that. Here, look at the shin. That's basically two vavs in a zayin, or two zayin in a vav.
Yeah.
Okay? And here we have the tav, the final letter, which is like a dalet, and it has like an upside down vav. You can look at, or an extended yud. Okay, which actually is a vav. So we just showed you how conceptually all the Hebrew letters are just made of the same two components, like Legos.
Yeah.
You have the yud, which is the little. In my day, we had the little square, and then we had the rectangle. So the little square would be the yud, right, in this metaphor, and the long rectangle will be the yud, and everything else is made out of it.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I just want to say that was amazing. You know what's even more amazing than that? Well, not more amazing, as amazing, or maybe amazing in its own right. Spotify CEO apologizes to staff for continuing to host Joe Rogan. Says he will continue contract while investing $100 million in artists from marginalized groups. To which I say, Joe Rogan should leave. Joe Rogan should host your brother on a show. Your brother should drop truth bombs on the show. Everyone will lose their minds. And then Mousy, Shmurla, Santa Claus, Cotton Schwab, and Schmates will all go to, do not pass go directly to jail. Do not collect 200 shekels.
I wanted to point something out. There's a Peter Mishmala,
Shmurla, yes.
Shmiter Shmikala.
Shmurla, yeah.
Okay. He's been doing shuva today. He was
asked.
Mean? Well, he was asked, like, you know, on Shmogen, he was asked, what is the reason why this is being done? You know, the whole Shmogen and the whole Shmaxim. What is the motivation behind it? So he didn't say it on the show, but he mentioned. Well, let me bring this up. Hang on a second. Just want to make sure that I can tell people exactly the correct title. Okay. Oops. Nothing to see here. All right.
Yeah.
Moment.
Show us your face.
I wasn't gonna buy that now. What are you talking about? Damn it. All right, you know what? There's a book which he was referring to by Dr. Bregan.
Yes. You gave me that book.
I gave you that book. Peter Shmiter Shmikola was referencing it. And he said that book contains the answer that he thinks is the closest to the truth. And
wait, what page is this on?
Where does he say this?
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw it.
Oh, wait. Of what? Of why these guys would do this?
Yeah, I saw something on. You know, go to Dr. Shmolenko's. Go to Shmatimir Shmolenko on Getter. Do me a favor. Can you do that?
Yes, I can do it. I'm doing it now.
And then you'll see a post there. Something.
One second.
Whoa! It is 11:33.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Okay. There's a post. This is one of the recent ones. What could motivate a stakeholder to this video?
Yeah, and it says Shmokola, right?
Yeah, there was a goal to inject children. Through this injection program, we set up Shmenoside. I think this Shmenoside is Shmer.
Oh, but he mentions the book. He mentions Dr.
Yeah.
Right? So what's the name of the book?
The name of the book is, I'll tell you what the name of the book is. It is called...
Well, if you have it handy, I know you have the book.
I have it. It's just upstairs. I don't want to step upstairs. I'll tell you exactly what the book is called.
That's our dedication to the folks at home.
Yes.
We're not going
It's called
upstairs.
it's called Schmovid-19 and the Global Predators. We Are the Prey
Yes.
by Dr. Peter Breggin and Ginger Ross Breggin, MD, and Ginger Ross Breggin. He's
Yes.
the author of another book called Talking Back to Prozac and another book called Psychiatric Drug Withdrawal. He's a psychiatrist. Medication Madness. Your drug may be your problem. He's basically the antidepressant fact book. Yes. Yes. And he also wrote Toxic Psychiatry, Why Therapy, Empathy, and Love Must Replace the Drugs, Electroshock and Biochemical Theories of New Psychiatry, and also Guilt, Shame, and Anxiety, Understanding and Overcoming Negative Emotions. There's a bunch of stuff that he wrote. Brain Disabling Treatments in Psychiatry, Talking Back to Ritalin, talking Back to Prozac, the latest one of this predator situation.
Right. So just one more time so that people want to look into. So we have, no, actually, hold on a second. I agree with Dr. Schmieder-Schmatola that this is an excellent book that I would strongly encourage. And it's called Schmovid-19 and the Global Predators. And then it says, We Are the Prey.
Yeah.
Peter R. Breggin, MD.
Yes.
Ginger
Ladies
Ross.
and gentlemen, so what do you think of this? I think that he's going to leave. I told you this earlier today, and you said no, he's not going to leave. I think he's going to leave.
I don't think he's going to leave because he's doing the whole apology tour, kind of. You know?
I don't know.
You know, if he was like, I mean, you know, the guy has a lot of money. Like, come on, like Logan.
Yeah.
You got a lot of money.
Well,
you could probably make more money starting off on your own. Why don't you do that, bro? You definitely got a nice little nest egg, a little safety net to live on while you're working on building your own, you know, powerful thing. Why aren't you doing that? Makes no sense.
Makes no sense. Absolutely no sense.
You know, maybe he just kind of wants to chill and smoke weed and talk. You know, like he doesn't want the stress of like opening up his own business. Could be.
Exactly. Oh, with that said, sir, it's been fantastic. Incredible, fantastic. But now we must go to the bed separately.
Folks at home, be gentle with your criticism of my animation. Yeah, I'm very sensitive about it.
It was great animation. With that said, ladies and gentlemen,
good night, everyone.
We bid you adieu.
Be well.
Lila Tov, and good night.
Peace.